Ladies and gentlemen, power is over. But that does not mean for one instant of a second that the fun is over. Without a doubt, you are here because the power is out. So stick around, because it's Power Out. Yeah, it's Power Out.
Tuesday is wrestling here at Love Wrestling. Welcome to the Love Wrestling double feature, kicking off with Power Out, your NWA reaction show, which will of course immediately be followed by NXT, today with Ed and Astrid. My name is Zach Ralph. I am the continuous host here at Power Out, and joining me is the other voice that you hear at literally every episode of Power Out. He does the fine introduction music and narration, the wordsmith. How you doing, friend?
I am omniscient. I exist ever present on this show. God, I'm so talented. It's disgusting.
Well, it is great to have... Sorry?
And very modest.
Absolutely. Let's say hello to a couple people who are joining us today. Bobby Petito, thank you so much for tuning in as always. Dream Match, Bobby. Power Out time, Ed, thank you for tuning in. And of course, Ed will be the person joining you immediately after Power Out for NXT here on Love Wrestling. Bobby Petito, I have some breaking news. Camille is defending the NWA Women's Championship against Mercedes Martinez, December 18th, Battleground Championship Wrestling. Dude, well, thank you for bringing that to my attention, because that is a match I very much have time for. Dude, wordsmith, what do you think?
Putting me on the spot, but I have to steal. Dude, take my money. Take all my money for that. Because both of those women are fantastic. So yes, take my money, and to quote my wonderful host here, dude.
Well, again, Bobby, thank you very much for bringing that to our attention. And while Wordsmith is willing to throw his money at Battleground Championship Wrestling, seems that Ed is here to throw money at the Wordsmith. Who is not excited to see the Wordsmith? It's always great when you're on the show, buddy.
The check is in the mail, I assure you.
Well, again, it's always great to have you, but this is going to be a bit of an oddball episode because you admittedly have not watched this evening's episode of Power. We're just going to kind of spitball ideas and use the episode itself as a jumping point.
Yeah, sure. Sounds like from what I've read and from what I've seen on the Twitter, which is always the most positive place to get all your reviews from. This show actually looked more action-packed than it was, and I'm excited to divulge and talk about it with you, someone who experienced it. And I've gotten your short review, and I can't say that on camera, so...
Well, again, the bright side about Twitter is you get the action, you get lots of GIFs that summarize the action, but, I think you could probably have all the in-ring action kind of consolidated into about 6 or 7 different GIFs, because we had 3 matches and 11 promos that happened during this particular episode of Power. We are going to dive into that, and we're going to discuss those promos and where they may be leading to. But before we do so, we need to thank the good people who make good things happen at Love Wrestling. The first, of course, we've been talking about them for a long time. You know all about RK Athletics in Edmonton, doing fine work, whatever your personal fitness goals are. If you're in Edmonton, you need to speak to Rich King immediately. If you're not, that's okay. Plenty of our online resources at rkathletics.ca. But we also got to talk about our new partners. We got some new friends, don't we, Wordsmith?
We do? Of course we do, Zach.
We do. We have partnered up with the good people over at manscaped.com, and they've been generous to send us these little care packages. Various members of the Love Wrestling team got it. This is the Lawnmower 4.0. Let me bring it up close to the camera there.
Look at that. So sleek.
Yeah, you'll have to excuse the glare. You do have a bit of a compact business space here, but listen to this. Listen to this. It's a nice sound.
What does that sound like? Sounds like the purring of a kitten. It's purring like a little baby kitten.
I like this too. It's got the light too for for dark spaces. You got yours recently. Are you enjoying your Lawnmower 4.0?
Loving it, actually. Loving all the products that Manscaped provided me and the crew here at lovewrestling.ca. Can't say enough good about Manscaped. Very impressed so far. Feeling very I don't know. I know this is a Tuesday and it's supposed to be a friendly show. Very, very well kept at the moment, if I can use that. And there are a couple of people, a couple of pieces of the Wordsmith that have been thanking me. If you catch my drift on that.
Well, as you say, Wordsmith, you can't say enough good things about the product. But I'm going to do my best with a little ad from our good friends. Support for Love Wrestling is brought to you by Manscaped, who is the best in men's below-the-waist grooming, champions of the world. Manscaped. Manscaped offers precision engineering tools for your family jewels. Good wordplay there. You know, you would know. Wordsmith, please weigh in on the wordplay there. That's solid, isn't it?
Can appreciate. Good structure. Well executed.
Thank you.
Carry on.
So yes, Manscaped just launched their 4th generation trimmer, the Lawnmower 4.0. You heard that right, 4.0. Join the over 4 million men worldwide who trust Manscaped with our exclusive offer for you: 20% off and free worldwide shipping, no matter where you are in the world. Completely free, 20% off your order at manscaped.com by entering the promo code LOVEWRESTLING. That's Manscaped. Your balls will thank you. Again, it's on the shirt too. Your balls will thank you.
Look at that. Branding. Go get it, folks.
Once again,
like Zach just said, your balls are going to thank you. Mine are already thanking me.
Once again, promo code is Love Wrestling. If that slips your attention, once again, it's scrolling along the bottom of this stream. But once again, thank you very much to the good people at Manscaped for these generous promotional pack materials. So let's talk wrestling. Let's talk about what happened tonight on NWA. It kicks off with the first of 11 promos. Again, 11 promos tonight. Cannot stress that enough. Just a quick little glimpse with Trevor Murdoch talking about how his business with Mike Knox is not done, and he's really disappointed in Matt Cardona, kind of sticking his nose in his business. If Cardona wants a piece, he expects him to do it right. We will have plenty of opportunity to discuss Matt Cardona as the night goes on, Wordsmith, but if you have anything you'd like to say at the beginning, please do so.
I think it's a good idea to start off with your champion giving the promo to start off the show. I'll be honest about that. And do the other 9 or 10 promos really stack up? Guess we'll have to wait and see. But if they're building towards a Cardona Murdoch match, I enjoy this. I already want to see it before they've even built it. So yes, that's my thoughts.
Beauty, absolutely. If they play this right, this could be a very good build. Bobby actually spoke to Camille, who's in this next segment with Strictly Business. Last Saturday, I talked to Camille, and she told me that she would like to defend the NWA Women's World Championship against Natalia Markova, and Kiera Hogan, and Mickie James, and Kylie Ray. Again, dream match. Bobby getting Camille's own dream matches. I would like to see any of those matches, absolutely. Moving on to
Could I
that.
just add a name to that I
Please.
think would be flippin' fantastic? Buena Loca, Taya Valkyrie.
Man, when her non-compete expires, I mean, she's already got a couple dates lined up. Hopefully she finds her way to the NWA. Wordsmith, I am on board. But let's talk about Camille, because she's in this next segment. Even if she is unfortunately a background character, this is a Strictly Business segment. We kind of get the same thing that happened last week. You had Tom Latimer kind of putting himself over. He's like, yes, Nick Aldis beat me, but I'm the one who left with my hand held high, and this this isn't going to be done until, again, Latimer's words here, until Nick Aldis is dead. So a bit of a turn there.
We've done this before, and I brought this up before. He had a different name, but Latimer's tried to kill Nick Aldis for the last 20 years. Why did they work together? This is an HR nightmare.
It's a bit of a love-hate relationship between those.
He's trying to murder him everywhere he goes. There is no love. It's
I have no issue presently with Tom Latimer taking the reins of the Strictly Business group. But what's really unfortunate here is this really seems to be like Camille spinning her wheels. I had the same complaint about the group when Nick Aldis was running the show. Camille was often, taking a backseat to the real world's champion, which I understood. But now she's the champion of the group. Of course, there's also the national champion with Chris Adonis, but it really seems like it could have been the opportunity for Camille to really get some substance and take charge of the group. Maybe that's. What do you think?
Because I didn't see the episode, but I'm not surprised that it's kind of going this way too. I don't know if Camille is good on the microphone, but I do think she needs a chance. I think she needs a chance to be. I mean, she's a brick house, man. Like, what else do you want me to describe her as? You look at her and it's like, no, I would not even attempt to tussle with this woman. She would destroy anything in front of her. And by all accounts, she has. Maybe not in the best ways all the time. But I think they just need to give her a little bit more breathing room and speaking potential to really get her over and be like, this is your women's champion. And the expression "I am woman, hear me roar" comes to mind. That's what I think needs to be done with Camille in this case.
Yeah, she's an emerging talent. She hasn't had a lot of mic time, but I've noticed substantial improvements every time that she has a chance to approach the microphone. It's been great, and I would love to see her have the opportunity to continue growing. Moving on to promo 3, the third one in the row of the night, and many more to come. Restrain yourself.
This is an entire season of poetry of a promo in one night.
This could be some substantial poetry of a promo material for you.
I might actually
revisit this episode of NWA Power.
Because if there's I'd love to be on the writing committee for this show and be like, Billy Pumpkins, what do we got? Well, we got a promo. Okay. Then we got another promo. And we do that 11 times.
Yeah, pretty much.
And who do we got kicking around backstage? We got Mike Knox. Are the Aces and Eights with him? No. Cool.
Well,
put him on last.
Well, again, here we go with this promo, man. We got Father James Mitchell with Jedias. Father James Mitchell accuses Strictly Business of bribing the referee at Hard Times 2. He calls the Master Lock, which Jedias fell to, an illegal chokehold. It's a full Nelson for those of you keeping score at home. He is confronted by Sal Rinauro, who comes out. He's looking a little deranged, a little lights are on but nobody's home kind of vibe coming off of him. He speaks and tells Father James Mitchell that he has been living in the darkness, and he recognizes James Mitchell as the light. But then James Mitchell just turns him down. Danny Deals comes out, and that's kind of how that segment ends. But you know what? I'm going to jump ahead because this was the first of two Father James Mitchell, Sal Rinauro, Jedias segments of the night. We're just going to combine them into one discussion rather than revisit it twice. Because
you know what every show needs? More Jedias.
More Jedias. I will say this though, like the instantly you put Sal Rinauro on the screen and like integrate him into like this angle, immediately like 1,000% more interesting.
That's true, actually, because I hadn't seen that highlight yet.
Yeah,
Twitter hasn't told me about it. But yeah, that's I like that aspect quite a bit.
Well, let me tell you about what happens next, because like I think there's a bit of an editing problem or maybe continuity. I feel like this next chapter of the angle was probably designed to take place on a later week of NWA Power, but it happens several segments later in the show. James Mitchell is out once again. Jedias is in the ring. Sal Rinauro is in the ring. Father James Mitchell introduces Saul, welcomes him to the ring, says he's revisited. It's the holiday season. He's revisited his stance on welcoming Sal Rinauro into the fold over the last 20 minutes or so. He says that Sal has the chance to prove his loyalty to Father James Mitchell and Jedias. He has several tests for him. First, he tells Sal to beg and bark like a dog. Gets down, does that, no problem. He tells him to bow down and kiss Jedias' feet and grovel. Once again, no problem. He tells him to take a choke slam from Jedias. He just runs right into Jedias. He puts Jedias' hand on his own throat. He takes that choke slam. And last but not least, Father James Mitchell has one more test for him. Oh boy. Jedias drags Sal Rinauro over to the table. James Mitchell gives him a wine glass full of blood, which Sal Rinauro drinks. He spits up, but he downs the thing, and he is in the thrall fully of Father James Mitchell. So I've laid the table for you, Wordsmith. I know you haven't seen it. What do you think?
I just, the creativity of Father James Mitchell knows no bounds, because you can take a show like NWA and be like, no, we're going to introduce Satan. And who's playing Satan? The red guy. With the actually, ungodly eyebrows, if I can use those words.
Danny Deals pulls that on him too at one point. I omitted Danny Deals because there's just a lot going on in these segments, but Danny Deals was there and he did call out the eyebrows as well.
Because they need to be. I think there should be whole segments dedicated to the man's eyebrows.
There could be.
It's on fleek, as the youths would say these days. I don't know. I'm grasping at straws. But, no, I appreciate a little bit of the occult in wrestling. I think it's always fun.
Yeah, it's interesting to see the NWA broach that side of wrestling, because that's not exactly, they're not necessarily known for these big supernatural characters, at least not in recent incarnations. So it'll be interesting to see how they broach a whole stable of Father James Mitchell characters, especially with Sal Rinauro into the fold, who I think adds a very interesting dynamic. Bobby asks a really good question here. Who is next for Chris Adonis? I want to get to that question in just a moment, but I also want to invite anyone who's in the chat, be you on YouTube, be you on Facebook, or on Twitch, please weigh in on that, and we're all going to jump into that topic in just a moment. And Cody, who is part of the NXT team, saying, NWA, my friends. Once again, this whole episode has been full of good wordplay. First, the good people of Manscaped with good wordplay, Cody with good wordplay. I appreciate that. It's like Wordsmith. You've brought the good wordplay with you. Yeah. Take credit for it. Just take credit for it.
Well, I'm just basking in it for a moment.
But you know what? I have good news, because we actually got to a match. We're 18 minutes into this episode of Power Out, and we finally have a match to discuss. we've got tag team action between Aaron Stevens and Kratos versus JTG and Dirty Dango, who are now known as the Dirty Sexy Boys. This begins with a showcase of JTG and Dango vibing and just kind of finding their gel as a team before it turns to Kratos and Stevens' match to dominate. Stevens shows off that more aggressive side before leaving the ring to cut a promo, which he does. He cuts a promo about his mic, how his mic isn't working at the time, even though it is. But all the same, none of it really matters. The mid-match promo doesn't lead to a distraction or anything of that regard, because Kratos just ends up hitting JTG with that sitting suplex. And that's it. The 1, 2, 3, bit of a promo after the match with Aaron Stevens reassuring the crowd that Aaron is fine and he's great under the wing of Kratos. Really fun stuff. But all in all, man, again, this was a small disaster. Dirty Sexy Boys should not be losing their debut, but at the same time, Aaron Stevens should not be losing after bringing out this new character. This was neither Stevens or the Dirty Sexy Boys' match to lose, and it's unfortunate that one of them had to. And again, that's on NWA. That's not on any of the performers. And again, that mid-match promo just to serve no purpose. And the last thing I really want to say on this is JTG should not be spinning his wheels at this point. I am all for this team, the Dirty Sexy Boys. I love Dirty Dango and JTG, but as JTG just got out of a team with Colby Carino, and now he's just thrown into a new team. I ranted. Wordsmith, please give me your thoughts here.
I don't understand why this match was booked.
Neither of them should have lost. They should have been I don't know. NWA is kind of wanting for tag teams, but you got to do better than having a debut tag team against, Stevens if you want either of them to have any credence going forward.
No, that's a fair point. Because you just brought them in, and they should. I do 100% agree that. I'm spinning wheels here. I apologize, but
that's okay. The episode is too.
They shouldn't be.
Power, that is.
There should have been somebody else. If there's ways to get out of it, bring in a third team, even make 2 matches instead of just the one, and have them both win, and then there's.
Are you saying more than 3 matches on a given NWA episode of NWA Power?
No, I'm not. Not at all.
It was just a mess. Back to Bobby's question. Ed brings up a good one here. Adonis versus Dirty Dango. Yeah, I got time for that. If they end up going for a singles route. But I'd rather see the other member of that team, JTG, kind of get a shot at the NWA National Championship. Once again, I'm a huge supporter of JTG, and he should not be where he is on the card right now. Wordsmith, you got any thoughts on that one?
I just want to reiterate exactly what you just said.
Yeah,
I think there's time for everybody, and let them percolate for a few more weeks or months. Give the guys that have been there a little bit of a shot rather than playing with the new toys right away. Well
said. Very well said. So we move on. We've got another promo from Kratos who's talking about how insanity and intensity are a volatile mix. Very good. It establishes the team, but we should move on because there's lots more promos to discuss. We get.
There was 3 promos in this match.
Okay. One of them was in the middle of the match. That was Stevens. Another one was after the match. Was also Stevens. And a third one. This was Kratos, backstage, rather than with Kyle Davis.
There was 3 promos in a match.
More or less, yeah. Again, one of them was backstage with Mae Valentine, but then this one. Anyway, another promo with Melina and Mae Valentine backstage. Melina says, losing to Camille at hard times too affords her the opportunity to become stronger and fight smarter next time she faces Camille. And if she isn't given another shot at the NWA Women's Championship, she's going to earn a shot at the NWA Women's Championship. Camille versus Melina too. You're in?
Do you have any reason to doubt that I'd be in?
No, it's kind of a redundant question. They were one of the highlight matches at Hard Times too. Give them a little more time because again, Hard Times was a packed card, 13 matches in a very short window. If they had a little more time, they could have created even more magic.
Yes.
Yeah, that's
Zach, you're stealing my thunder with all the words.
I do apologize. I am also just trying to like kind of blitz through this, man, because again, it's kind of hard to discuss 11 promos worth of material in such a short window. We also want to afford Cody and Ed the proper amount of time to get their NXT, spilling the NXT on. And oh, I can't believe I'm saying this again. We move on to another promo.
I was just going to say, is there another promo after this?
Immediately after. So I think that's 4 in a row. This is a streak of 4 promos. I've kind of lost track because we jumped back and forth with the Father James Mitchell thing.
So I went to a promo show and some wrestling matches broke out.
I mean, pretty much.
That is what happened here.
This promo features the End talking about how La Rebellion did not beat them at Hard Times 2. They just survived. Pero says that there is a 6-man division coming to the NWA. By the way, this is the first time I'm hearing about this. Maybe I'm not paying enough attention, which I kind of doubt because I do follow the NWA quite. I want to do my research if I'm hosting a show reacting to NWA here on Love Wrestling. I want to be able to say I know my stuff, but this is the first time I'm hearing about an NWA 6-man tag team division. But anyway, Pero just kind of like rolls over that and introduces the 3rd member of their new team. He introduces Jax Dane.
Oh, damn.
Yeah, so we got a bit of a Monster Island scenario with the End and Jax Dane. And Jax Dane takes the time to remind everyone that he has a bit of an asset in his back pocket. That is the Championship Series Golden Ticket, which he can cash in on any championship. Again, NWA does not have the roster to support a trios division. I have no idea what they're doing. And also, again, I just want this Championship Series and all of its loose ends to just disappear. Because Jax Dane had been kind of building momentum. You thought we were going to get him as the challenger for Trevor Murdoch, which would have been great for Trevor to dispense a former NWA champion. But man, again, this is just another example of NWA spinning its wheels. You have anything to say, or is it just... You have to remember, we're also a podcast. We're not exclusively video, Wordsmith.
Well, you know what? Let me tell you something. Move on.
Yeah. Again.
It's just... They don't have enough people. They don't. There's not enough people.
Thank you, Bobby, for validating, because, again, as confident as I spoke, I still had an inkling of doubt. I'm glad to hear I'm not the only one who's, first time hearing about the NWA Trios division. Very bizarre. I think that's attributed to continuity issues. It's certainly not Pero's fault, but it's, we didn't get so much as the announce desk announcing a Trios division or Billy Corgan announcing it. I don't know. Very strange. We move on to another match, second match of the evening. The Hex defends the NWA Women's Tag Team Championship against Mickie James and Kiera Hogan. The experienced Hex just plays foil to Kiera and Mickie left, right, and center. Kiera and Mickie, obviously, they have a lot of respect for each other after that match at Hard Times 2, but they're just not as cohesive as Marty Bell and Allison Kay. Mickie keeps calling the shots, but Kiera can't weather the Hex. Kiera is dominated through the match until Mickie gets the hot tag, but it's too little too late because Kiera Hogan gets tagged back in and she gets hit by Hex, marks the spot. Post-match, Camille and Tom Latimer come out and they give some sarcastic encouragement to Mickie James, which I guess that opens the door to Mickie James versus Camille, and that's another thing I very much would look forward to.
Yeah, no. From what it sounds like a damn good segment, if I may use the words. But
I mean, it was a great match. You're not going to go wrong with the Hex, and again, Mickie James being the experienced vet that she is, and having that magical match with Kiera Hogan, there was a lot of nice storytelling in this. And again, if this opens the door for Camille versus Mickie James, I'm looking forward to it. Wordsmith, I know you're looking forward to it, and I'm trying to pull up Bobby's comment from earlier. Judging by this comment, seems that Camille would be looking forward to it as well. We got to move on. We've got another promo. Austin, I know, it's crazy. Austin Idol and his crew come out, and he has a gift. Austin Idol has a gift for Black G's for his continued loyalty to their little entourage. He presents Black G's with a name tag, a gold-plated name tag, naming him the junior executive of Idolmania Sports Management. So this means G's can sign young prospects to the entourage, and he wastes no time doing it. Within this segment, he introduces the new member of this growing clique, Marche Rocket. G's also issues a threat to Scion, which will unfold next week on Power. So, tell me where that laughter came from, Wordsmith, as I discussed the gift of the nameplate.
There's certain things in wrestling, and you'll appreciate this. This is a callback to when Mr. Ralph and I used to partake in a few adult beverages and watch a company called Impact Wrestling. The name tag is up there with a cage key. It's just
in the realm of bullshit props.
Yeah, and I used this expression on the last show I was on with you, I believe. I forget what the heck it was called, but it was a Saturday, whatever. I was here looking up. These props are just the shits. I don't even need to see it. I just know it's shit.
I mean, again, I like that they're giving Black G something to work with. He's got a lot of charisma.
A name tag?
Well, I don't mean the name tag. This junior executive role to Idolmania, if it plays a role in the continued development of maybe Black G's getting a little more, a little more time to tell his story, and again working in Marche Rocket, who's been, he's been impressing every time he's been on NWA. I wouldn't. Personally, I think Slice Boogie would have been a better fit, but I know he has MLW commitments now as well. But all that to say, name tag was a little ridiculous. I kind of laughed, but it does represent a little more opportunity for Black G's, and I have time for that.
So, is he going to change his name to Dwight Schrute?
Yeah.
I'm getting serious. I'm the assistant regional manager here at.
I get what you're getting at, friend. But all the same, as Austin Idol and his entourage head out, immediately coming out for the next promo of the night for Promo Mania is William Patrick Corgan himself. He comes out. He says he sanctioned Mike Knox to wrestle, but that does not make him a part of the NWA. Honestly, I'm trying to.
Say he's an outlaw?
Yeah, something like. Oh, here we go with the aces and eights.
I didn't say it. You brought it up. They should book it. Book it, Billy. Do it. Despite all your rage, just put them in a cage. You already did it. Just do it.
Oh boy. Yeah. Anyway, you've actually said a lot more substance in what you just said than Billy Corgan really did in this promo, because he tries to communicate that he takes responsibility for his actions, for sanctioning Mike Knox to compete at Hard Times 2 and continue to compete in the NWA. He takes responsibility for the Pope being injured that night because he was stretchered out after Hard Times, and this is, if I'm not I know he got a legit concussion in the attack, which is very unfortunate and clearly threw off a lot of what they had planned in the coming weeks. But man. I'm just really trying to articulate what Billy Corgan was trying to communicate, but he kept repeating. He owns his decision several times without really, sinking its teeth into what that actually meant.
He's owning his decisions. What do you want?
I know. So yeah, anyway, there's only so much substance to be deciphered from that.
I just saw photos of it, and I was like, why is Billy Corgan dressing like Conan? Is it a thing? And you can come after me in the comments, folks, but the tracksuit and the baseball cap thing, it doesn't work.
Yeah.
And you're not 20 anymore, so it's time.
It's a little bizarre. Okay, so we're on the home stretch. We got a bit of a promo.
13 more promos to go. So.
No. We got considerably less than that. Bobby, you've left some like amazing dream matches in the comments as always. I'm popping them up on the screen. I would love to discuss some of these at length, especially this first one. But we gotta get towards wrapping up, and this main event does cover a lot of ground. So we got a promo with Mike Knox and Matt Cardona. Cardona doesn't like that the NWA doesn't have music. He kind of calls it a little bit Bush League in that regard. He says he came to the NWA at hard times. He just wanted to support his buddy Trevor Murdoch. He says they go way back. They used to go to the gym together. That Trevor Murdoch would sit in the car while Cardona went into the gym itself. He says he attacked Pope. He threw him into the stairs because Pope jumped his friend Mike Knox. So he was just sticking out for his friend. And also, once Mike Knox took out Trevor Murdoch, he didn't mean to offend anyone by picking up the NWA championship. He just wanted to see if it actually weighed 10 pounds. He says, really great line here, I didn't have a scale. Maybe it was about 11 pounds, but I say it's about 10 pounds. So yeah, he's really just what's the expression? Just taking the piss out of NWA. He's doing all these backhanded compliments and saying his motivations are purely benign, but he's just yanking at the chains of those who support the NWA, much like he did with GCW. Matt Cardona at NWA. What do you think, Wordsmith? We talked about it at Hard Times, but what do you think
Michael
now?
Jordan of professional wrestling. He will hold that championship. He's already been the deathmatch king. Now, for people that are like, Cardona can't go, Cardona is going to out-wrestle everybody on the roster. And I can't wait to see it, and I hope he's an asshole the whole time. Because if he could do that in GCW, imagine what he'll be able to do with a smaller audience that's just going to talk over him for most of his promos. They're going to boo the crap out of him, and it's going to be amazing.
That's exactly how I feel. I think there's a lot of magic to be had with Matt Cardona in the NWA, and I hope that they follow it through to its most potential, which I also believe involves him capturing, or at least getting very close, dangerously close, to capturing the NWA Championship. Next up, Knox, who is, I'm going to count this as the same promo because they are at the podium at the same time. Mike Knox says he's just going to go in the ring. He's supposed to have a match against the Pope, who obviously will not be there. He's going to go in. He's going to issue an open challenge, which nobody is going to accept. We're going to ring the bell. We're going to count to 10, and we're going to call it a victory. He gets in the ring. Matt Cardona rings the bell to start it. He starts counting. He counts to 7, and who comes out but big, strong Mims, the guy who is winning more and more of my heart every time I see him. He cuts a promo, which I am counting as promo number 11, even though it is kind of the same segment. He says that he's really pissed off with Cardona and Mike Knox, especially after everything that they have done to the Pope. He says he was heartbroken watching the Pope get stretchered out, and he is tired of Mike Knox and Matt Cardona coming in and disrespecting the locker room, disrespecting the fans, and disrespecting his 3 favorite letters, NWA. Pardon me. Now, really good promo, and I gave you a very, very brief summary because honestly, this went about 2 or 3 minutes, so it was at least 2 minutes too long. But at the same time, the announce team, they put it over. They said Mims spoke from the heart, which he absolutely did, and I think they really did a good job of making Mims seem important. What do you think of Mims, sir?
I don't have a bad word to say about Mims, I'll be honest.
That's fair.
I didn't take the name seriously because back in the early 2000s there was a musical trend, musical group, if you will, that would just scream out in the middle of their songs, Mims! That's what I got originally from Mims. But then, my God, there was talent, so that separated him immediately from that old stigma of untalented, I want to say hip-hop/rap artist, whoever that was back in the day. But no, Mims, it sounds like could be a contender, and I'm happy to see him in the main event. Also, can we just acknowledge that there's a certain person who we didn't mention on this show who there's 2 people who I don't like talking about on NWA. One of them is a vegan and just is the worst. And the other one, well, unfortunately, they gave him a title. So Pope is away from that individual finally. Am I correct in thinking that?
I mean, I hate to see it happen because of an injury. Like, hopefully they had better plans for him than to keep cycling the NWA Television Championship. But hopefully, once Pope gets better, can't wait for that to happen. But I hope it happens on the right time. Hopefully he can still remain removed from that television championship scene.
Oh, I certainly hope so, because it sounds like, I mean, they've got him involved in one of the main event storylines, or at least a sub-storyline of it. So keep that going, and I'll be happy.
I'm gonna drop one more Bobby Dream match over here because I really like this one. Mims versus Chris Adonis, tying that loose end on our conversation about the NWA National Championship. That is a match I'd very much like to see because, like, they're pushing Mims. I really hope they are. He comes in, the match begins. A lot of fire from him at the beginning, but it's snuffed out by Knox. We get a little bit more offense from Mims, but really not a lot of substance. It all concludes with Mims looking for the big, strong slam, and Knox, he pulls an eye rake, and he pulls out the victory right shortly thereafter. It's really unfortunate because Josiah McDonald and I were speaking last week quite favorably of how they ended television last week. They had a lot of interesting threads that I wanted to pursue and see how they unfold and whatnot, but this week did not leave me with the same feeling. Like, I got saturated with 11 promos, and not enough wrestling, and man, just a lot of wheels being spun. Wordsmith, I know you didn't watch it. Leave your last few thoughts, and of course, let the audience know where to follow you on social media and what we can expect from you in the near future at lovewrestling.ca.
Well, promos are my bread and butter. However, when you have an hour and it's the National Wrestling Alliance,
yeah, 11 promos.
11
in 1
promos
hour.
is a lot. From what I hear, some of them were good, some of them were less than good, and yes. Moving right along, I might actually have a whole season based on this episode from this review. So I'm thankful for that. But in case you were wondering where to find the rest of my stuff, you can follow me at Poetry of a Promo on Twitter and Instagram.
Cody actually just echoed your same sentiment. Can we do Poetry of a Promo of this entire show soon? I dare you.
You know what?
But back to you.
Let me talk to my attorneys, and we'll see what we can do.
Back to your promotional material, sir.
I don't want to meet up with Billy Pumpkins in a back alley, going, "Well, you stole my stuff, and now I'm just a rat in a cage." Sorry. Moving on. Where was I? Oh yes, follow me on Instagram and Twitter at Poetry of a Promo. This week, I just actually released a Christmas Festivus edition with the 12 Days of Christmas, but the alternative version. And there's a little bit of Canadian content in it as well. Yes, one Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson sang test, a very interesting rendition, and I put my own personal touch on it.
Beautiful.
So go find that on lovewrestling.ca and follow me on Twitter and Instagram at Poetry of a Promo. I think I've gone on long enough. The floor is yours.
Quite all right. You can, of course, follow me on Twitter and Instagram. On Twitter, it's SmarkMouth, as you see at the bottom of the screen. It is smark.mouth on Instagram. And there will be no episode of Powerrrout next week, as NWA will be doing Power Surge, which generally we do not cover. I'll keep an eye on the card, but generally it's a couple 2 or 3 matches that were filmed as dark matches compiled together. And, there's only so much we can discuss about that. Enjoy the holiday edition of Power Surge next week, with or without us. But stay tuned. We're going to have one more little message from the Wordsmith, telling you a little bit more about the Lawnmower 4.0. And then immediately after, Ed and Cody will be talking NXT with you on NXT. So enjoy that. Thanks for tuning in. See you next week. See you soon, friends.
Ta-ta.
Salutations. Wordsmith here to tell you about Love Wrestling's wonderful sponsor,
Manscaped. Now, if you don't know what Manscaped is, you must be living in the shed. See what I did there? This is the shed. This is the carrying case from Manscaped. But what do you put in here, I wonder? Well, you can put lovely products like the Crop Preserver Ball Deodorant, because let's face it, gents, sometimes they don't quite have the aroma that we all need and or want. So use this and make those problems go away. You can keep them toned and keep them looking extra spiffy with the Crop Reviver Ball Toner. Yes. All things. But, that shed looks pretty darn big, doesn't it? Look at the size of this thing. What else comes with it, I wonder? Well, do you hear that? It's purring like a kitten. It's looking sleek as heck. Look at that. That, ladies and gentlemen, and lizards alike, is the... Oh, too much purring, I suppose. This is the Lawnmower 4.0, only available at Manscaped. But why am I telling you about this? And is one question you're probably asking. Well, because I've got a deal for you. If you go over to manscaped.com right now and use promo code LOVEWRESTLING, you will receive 20% off plus free shipping. Is he out of his mind? No, I'm just reading text, actually, is what's happening, because Manscaped is a Love Wrestling sponsor. So use promo code LOVEWRESTLING. Get 20% off. Your balls, they're going to thank you.
Well,
if you want to go for it. But welcome.
I'm
ladies.
Not used to not hosting anymore. It's your show now.
Already off to a great start, Ed. We're just this is what happens when Astrid leaves us for a week. Ladies, gentlemen, lizards, friends, foes, wherever you are, whoever you are, welcome to NXT. I am Cody, back for the first time in a long time. Happy to be back. Happy to be talking wrestling with my good pal over here. Wait, that way. Mr. Ed Fries, how are you?
I don't do the arrow things well. I'm doing well.
It's been too long. I even did it the wrong way. I'm like, wait, no, wrong way. We miss you.
We've been trying to fill the gap with new friends and new acquaintances we've had. As we see here, one of our friends, Chote Goat Gaming, he's been in there going ahead and filling in and helping out. We had Bubba Duke on. We've had Alex, our friend Alex was in here. Lawrence was on the War Games post show as well. All kinds of friends coming and going. But it's not the same unless all three of us are here. And we still don't have it. We still don't have it.
It will unfortunately be a while
Astrid
before
left
we
us
do.
to get some rest.
We know you need a rest, though, Astrid. You're a big star. You need to take a break once in a while and just catch your breath and relax and recharge those batteries. So hope you're doing okay. Hope you enjoy what Ed and I put on here tonight, because we all know Ed and I go off the rails without you. Zara, happy to see you sticking around, because we might need some, level-headedness in the chat. Okay. Focus. This was a very, very
unfocused,
weird NXT show tonight. It was a little bit all over the place, but a little bit just everything tied together as it has been. I'm going to kick it off because it's been a while since I've got to talk anything wrestling. I'm going to jump right into what I thought was my favorite match and segment of the night. And that was Tony D'Angelo versus Andre Chase. We got Tony D'Angelo following up from War Games in last week, carrying out Pete Dunne's mouth guard in this fancy display case, basically worshiping it, praising it, carrying it down, setting it on the steps, making sure it was okay and not getting damaged, and then proceeding to have a very, very solid match with Andre Chase. Probably Andre Chase's best match of NXT 2.0 so far. Definitely a really strong match for Tony. I mean, Tony really came out into his own in the War Games match, but he's never really had that growth period that some of the others have needed. He's looked strong right from the beginning and just seems to keep getting better. You have the Chase U section, which unfortunately for you, I don't think is growing quite as much as we had originally thought. It looked pretty small today.
We'll get there.
But I did appreciate Andre adding in the Chase U stomps now, where he like literally chants out the CHASE. Absolutely choked. Absolutely, just very, very strong in ring, and I think Tony is a great one for that. That everyone he's wrestled with so far has not only helped him look good, but also looked good going up against him. The finish that Tony is using right now with that Northern Lights straight into the Fisherman Buster, I'm actually a big fan. It's simple. It's something that, doesn't necessarily look very Finisher-esque, but it's unique in that sense that it's just two moves strung together in such a way. My Spanish is not up to par, Dara, so I'm not quite sure what that says.
Somebody say Andre Chase?
Oh, okay.
Filling in for Astrid, apparently.
As long as you got it.
I just happen to know those words, and it's the
Perfect.
same thing Stara says for every Andre segment.
Perfect. This is me as a Canadian speaking French, not Spanish, and being confused by upside down question marks. I don't know. Who is the new guy, Parrish? I thought you were supposed to be the new guy this week. Anyhow, after the match is done, after we get Tony finishing off Andre, he cuts a promo talking about Pete and how Pete is basically washed up and needs to go away. And Pete comes out and wants to fight, and Tony wants to talk. We get a little bit of back and forth interaction there. I really thought that Pete was just going to throw hands sooner rather than later, but he just stood and took it from Tony and waited for Tony to try and throw the first hand, and then countered him, smashed the glass, got his mouth guard back, and set up that I think we're getting that match next week. They confirmed, right?
We are indeed.
Which should be an excellent match. I love both of those guys. I think that will probably be a show stealer in its own right if it's not the main event. I'm out of words now. What did you think of the segment as a whole? Where are you at with Tony and Pete on this?
I like Tony and Pete. Tony is going to get everything he needs from a Pete Dunne. Pete Dunne can go in there and, like we've been saying with Andre Chase, he can go in there and make everybody he wrestles look good. Andre Chase reminds me of, I'll say it every week until I don't believe it anymore. He reminds me of Heath Slater. He's that great, talented, funny hand who they know they can get a good segment out of you in the ring, and they can get great stuff with you backstage or in a promo with a great character gimmick. Will he ever be NXT champion? Probably not. But he's going to be a reoccurring role that makes me smile every week that he's on the show. Doing the Chase Shoe stomps, having that paid crowd, which is slowly, as you said, getting bigger. There are some Chase Shoe shirts popping up every couple weeks. We see them. There are some popping up in other parts of the arena. It's getting there. But yeah. Pete Dunne and Tony D'Angelo are that match is going to be fantastic next week. They've done a really good job of 2.0 of giving you a reason to acknowledge the new class getting what they're getting. They're not just like, oh, I'm the young gun, I'm going to come in and just win everything. It's like, no, we're going to build storylines and get you from A to B to C and while they're not all losing, but they're all getting a coherent story. It's not just new guys in, push to the top, old guys push away.
Yeah, fair. And both Astrid and Parrish in the comments there adding our truth to the Slater comparison for you that and just kind of roll back on that because you made a great point with that. I do think that Chase could be that R-Truth Heath Slater, that hand that will be there for a long time and happy to just play their role, play their part, maybe get a tag team run here or there. You know, on the very rare off occasion, maybe end up on an Intercontinental or United States title if they really just go to the moon, but probably stuck more in like a 24/7 Chase or just bouncing from tag partners. And I think Andre Chase might already be heading there. He has that one student who's kind of been recurring and popping up a little bit over the last couple weeks. That
he saved him. I was going to say he saved him. If it wasn't last week, it was a couple of weeks ago before War Games.
Yeah, I think it was on the Go Home show that he saved him from a beatdown after a match there. I think he's going to be somebody who's going to pop up again in a little bit here as a potential partner or even just a student where Andre is maybe coaching him or, you know, teaching him. How is he putting it? The teachable moments.
Teachable moments. Yeah, that's the wording he uses. Teachable moments.
Chase maybe is someone who could be a side recurring wrestler, but more of the mouthpiece that's talking and helping somebody else go for that main title.
Yeah, he saved Andre from getting his head shaved from Cameron Grimes.
That was right. The Go Home show when Cameron was trying to send a message to Duke.
I mean, I think the paint splatter is the color scheme that they've decided to go with. It's not my favorite one either, but I think we're going to have to learn to love it.
Wasn't it Ciampa before War Games that called it like a unicorn vomit?
Yep, that would be him.
I loved the reference. The logo is growing on me. The theme song still hasn't really grown on me, although it does get stuck in my head from time to time. But as a whole, the 2.0 product is extremely enjoyable. And coming from somebody who has binge watched a couple back weeks over the last few days to get caught up to be here today, even going back and rewatching stuff that I knew was going to happen, which I never do with Raw or SmackDown, or never did with Raw or SmackDown, with NXT, I can still enjoy what they're producing, even if I know where it's headed a couple weeks ahead of time. What about you, Ed? Where were you at as far as kind of your top segment, top piece, top story on the show?
For me, it all revolves, this whole show revolved around Grayson Waller. From start to almost finish, it felt like the entire thread of this show was Grayson Waller and the reaction from the crowd, from the reaction to the backstage, producers, to the backstage wrestlers, to everything else. Like everybody had an opinion, it seemed like, on this show. And I think it was great. Opening up the show with talking about what happened last week, and then having Grayson Waller backstage and walking in past the area where the fans are presenting their, either getting checked in for like temperature checks and showing their vaccination status and stuff. That's the area it seemed like you were at with a bunch of fans all booing him and calling him an a-hole, which I think is great that they've, like, natural heat. Like, yeah, are those fans planted? Sure, probably. They're probably fans that WWE knows they're going to give them the reaction they want. Hey, come shoot this segment for us. So, okay, maybe that's manufactured. So he goes ahead and he's walking backstage and everybody's just kind of walking away from him. He goes to the ring. The entire crowd, who you can't manufacture the entire crowd, they all seem like they're booing him. They're all calling him an a-hole. They're all telling him to shut the hell up. And things I noticed in this, the heat was great because it was natural, just great heat. Everything that they did last week, I even put a tweet out saying this, everything they did last week worked because of the reaction of the fans back last week, the reaction of everybody going through the week of, oh, that was bad for Johnny because Grayson Waller upstaged him and took, well, yeah, Johnny's leaving, and on his way out, he's going ahead and making a new star, or trying to make a new star, rubbing off what he can to somebody else.
True stars and true legends of the business go out on their back. I've always believed that. I've always believed that the legends who do go out on their back are the ones who leave the biggest impression. and are the ones who truly love the business, that they are willing to take that L to put over an up-and-comer. And even if it wasn't a loss in terms of actually losing a match, Johnny going out by being beaten up by Grayson Waller and destroyed and left laying is the act of a legend of at least of the company, an NXT legend at this point, going out and doing, still on his way out the door, doing what is best for NXT.
Yeah. And this promo segment does it great, because, you know, the crowd's crapping on him and telling him that they think he's an a-hole. And he mocks Johnny Gargano by saying, well, you know what? I can't fail. A great man once said, I can't fail if I bet on myself. And using that bet on myself line as the line that Johnny was kind of living, you know, when he was making the turn and kind of finishing up his segment, that was what he was going with. I'm going to bet on myself, and I can't fail if I bet on myself. And I'm like, that's really nice that, you know, that's where Johnny's head's at and that's what he's thinking. And then watching Grayson Waller use it to be like, yeah, and I'm betting on myself by beating up Johnny Gargano and becoming a star in doing it. He says at one point, last week I cemented myself as the NXT superstar. I ended the career of an NXT legend. And he's right. Like, Johnny Gargano isn't coming back. I mean, will he ever come back? Probably. I could see him coming back in the future at some point, maybe. But as far as we know it, he's, you know, the end of Johnny's career. And the last thing we see of Johnny on NXT television is getting wrecked by Grayson Waller. So good job on you there. He posts a bunch of screenshots of people's comments, including one I really liked from Wade Barrett, where it goes, what a POS, piece of shit. I think I like him. and Grayson's like, oh, that's so nice, Wade. And then he looks down at him right from ringside and he goes, but this isn't 2010 and I don't care what you think. And instantly building more heat by picking on a commentator. And then to go even further, he picks on the non-wrestler commentator that he was picking on last week in the attack when he was constantly talking to Vic Joseph about, here's your boy, aren't you going to do something? Aren't you going to protect him? Aren't you going to do something? And he says, you couldn't even stand up for your friend. It shows you what kind of man you really are. And that kind of ends his promo. And I'm like, great. Like, everything's working. He's making me hate him, but I can respect the heel work. Like, is it basic? Is it easy to do? Yeah. I mean, any good heel should be able to take what happened last week and get this kind of heat. But he's maintaining it, and he's doing everything he has to do exactly what he needs to do to propel this into something better.
I'm just gonna, before we continue beyond this segment, I'm just gonna touch on the note I had from the segment. I had the 2010 comment on Wade calling out Vic for being a coward, just watching what I guess Vic and Johnny are best friends. So, you know, just watching me do that to your best friend, like, what kind of friend are you? But I did feel like this just kind of dragged on a little bit. This segment in the ring, I felt like it went on longer than it needed to. And it would have benefited from somebody standing up and, like, you know, even if it's just setting up a nothing match for Grayson to squash somebody next week, somebody coming out to stand up for Vic and Wade, somebody coming out to stand up for what he did to Johnny, anybody being there to call him out. I get that we were heading to where we were heading later and the feud that we're still on with Grayson and LA Knight right now. But it felt like somebody else should have come out to tell Grayson to sit down and shut up.
And I think we might be heading there with Wade Barrett. I think Wade Barrett might be heading to that, because as the segment ends and they go to Wade and Vic sitting at the desk, there's a small little thing that they add in here that would normally get blown over on any other show, but I picked up on it. Wade says, I did my best. I tried to like him. I really did. And then Vic Joseph talks about, you try to be the bigger man. You try to be the bigger person. He isn't even verified on social media. And then they went to the Matt Riddle stuff with the MSK. And I love that one little pot shot, because all Vic can do is be on commentary, because he knows he's not a wrestler and he knows he's going to get his butt kicked if he tries to get in the ring. Like Wade can step to Grayson, and I think it'll be fun to see Grayson knock Wade down. I don't necessarily want to see a match, but I wouldn't mind seeing Vic, Wade get up and be like, "Oh, I'm going to get in the ring. I'm going to confront you," and have Grayson just knock him on his butt.
Yeah.
One right hand, and Wade goes, "All right, maybe the time has passed me by. I'm going to sit down." Maybe that's where a Thatcher comes back. Maybe we're leading to Timothy Thatcher coming back. I don't know when he's back from his injury, but maybe he picks up from a Gargano if Ciampa's not ready yet, because Ciampa's got, as we will find out later, other things to do. But as we continue throughout the night, in other segments, he's walking around backstage and nobody wants to be near him. Nobody wants to be around him. There's a great segment I really liked with Tiffany Stratton walking backstage. You don't see her face. All you see is her from behind, which is still really weird that they're still doing this. Like, she's wrestled on 205 Live. We know what she looks like. Just show us on NXT. But they still haven't. And she goes, "My daddy thinks you're a scumbag." And I'm like, that's kind of cool. And then Io Shirai gets up in his face and she's yelling and screaming at him. And I really wish they would have had subtitles for this, because I would have loved to have known what she was saying. But in typical douchebag fashion, he doesn't just walk past her or ignore her. He starts nodding and listening like he understands. He grabs a chair and he listens to everything she has to say. And only once she's finished does he walk away from her. I'm like, oh, pure gold.
It was the other way around. She finished and turned and walked away from him.
Oh,
and
did she walk away?
Yeah, and he's like, after she walks away, he's like, "I think she likes me."
Oh, is that okay? But still, like, just pure, just great. Like, he's playing into this douchebag persona. Love it, hate it, whatever it might be. Like, it's working. Like, he's got something. It's not nothing. Like, he's getting there. His in-ring stuff is pretty good. They want you to forget about Toothless Timmy because he's not there. That's the WWE way. If we're not on screen and we know we're not going to be on screen for a while, we're not going to notice you. You want to know who else WWE wants you to forget? Bayley. Guess who's coming back real soon? Bayley. Just saying. But we then get to one more segment where he's backstage and he goes back into the locker room with all the guys. Yeah. Josh is right. Grayson Waller is a menace.
The guys.
The guys.
The guy and three other somebodies.
Yeah. I by the way, I couldn't tell you any of the other three in that locker room. I think one of them faced Harland. I think one of them was the Raja guy who faced Harland, but I can't be sure of it. But anyways, he's in there and he's, being his typical douchebag self. And Braun Breaker's like, he's like, "Come on, Braun, like Team 2.0, War Games." And Breaker's like, "No, you're a douchebag. I hate you. Get your stuff and get out of the locker room. You don't deserve to dress with the rest of us." And he grabs his stuff and he's acting all big and bad. And he's like, "Yeah, superstars get their own locker room." And Braun Breaker's just like, "Whatever. Okay, Miz, I don't care."
Okay, Miz.
Well, I honestly think this whole segment was kind of like, JBL kicking the Miz out of the locker room. It's the same type of segment. And I think one of Braun Breaker's first feuds as champion might be Grayson Waller. Post Mania, because I think Grayson has plans at Mania. I said it last week. I think Ciampa's those plans at Mania, because I think Breaker wins at New Year's Evil. And I think around Mania time, you have Ciampa versus Waller to, do that blood feud there with everything that happened with Johnny Gargano. And then as you head to post-Mania, I'd love to see Grayson Waller versus Braun Breaker. You've got a tease of a thing here that could be fun.
I would also like to see at some point here that we get Grayson versus Dexter Lumis because of the Gargano stuff.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, it's already kind of, it wouldn't be hard to have that crossover happen now with Lumis with the Hayes and Trick, and Grayson still kind of lingering around the Hayes and Trick stuff too. So
yeah, but from between January and April, we got a lot of time to do a lot of fun stuff. I think if you're gonna do a big match between Grayson Waller and Ciampa, I think you do that Mania weekend. In my mind, that's where you get your money's worth out of that match.
Yeah,
Maybe I'm
possible.
wrong. Maybe I'm wrong. But I just love the stuff. Like, he's, you know, like him or hate him. Like, you don't have to love him, but you have to at least admire that he's garnered real heat from this segment. People love Johnny Gargano, and it's a great way to make him, you know, more recognizable on television. Can he carry it over for the next 4 or 6 weeks? Can he carry it on 4 to 6 months? That'll be the true test. You know, Ciampa was able to take that and make an entire character where he walked around with no music for a month and a half.
I was going to say that him coming out to those chants tonight reminded me a lot of that prior to Ciampa debuting the No One Will Survive music, when he came out to just empty silence and the chants of the crowd. It kind of gave me that vibes, even though Grayson still had his music.
I almost wished he didn't. I think, how telling would it have been if he came out to no music, just like Ciampa after Ciampa turned on Gargano?
Right?
Like, how great would it have been? But they chose not to go that direction. Fine. You have to be worried in this day and age that he's not a big enough. With Ciampa, you knew you were going to be okay. Ciampa will make it work.
Well, because DIY had been around for so long, you knew that that turn was going to get that reaction. You didn't have to manufacture or, you know, kind of push or promote or, you know, have the plants in the pre-show audience to get kind of the crowd started on that chant or prepared to do that chant in the building either.
Yeah. And like I said, they didn't seem a whole lot manufactured in the arena. The only thing I think that might have been manufactured from a crowd sentiment would have been that opening segment outside, because you don't trust just anybody to do that. That's where you get your people that you know are going to give you the exact reaction you want. You tell them what you need and you get it.
I think it's almost that little subtle bug that they're planting in the live audience's mind, though, because I assume they show those segments in the or like to the live crowd still. So if you show that cold open with him coming up and the crowd out in the parking lot doing that chant, it sets that bug into the mind of the crowd in the building. So when he comes out, they want to be part of that chant and continue it in the building too. Maybe it's not something they would have thought to start chanting themselves without that subtle little nudge from the outside crowd first.
Yeah. But like I said, it worked. I thought it was a great, like you said, it could have been shorter. They could have cut it down. Hell, my review of the segment could have been shorter. Let's be honest. But I mean, you know, it's the one thing from this show that I think had any real, like, a massive amount of meat to it.
Since we're talking about all the Grayson stuff, just we did kind of skip over a little touch there.
Yeah,
but halfway through this show with LA Knight arriving and telling somebody at the door to find Grayson and tell him that LA Knight is here.
He called him an incel too.
Yeah. But then we never see LA Knight again until the end of the show when Grayson's leaving the building and pulls away to show LA Knight laying on the ground behind where the car had been. So
it's a nice little callback to last week. Last week, LA Knight was hitting on Grayson was hitting on the girl. She turned him down for LA Knight. LA Knight got in the car and said, "You like views, you like, you know, see, you like views, and I hope you like this view." Me and Cody were talking about this exact same thing in the pre-show chat. We don't know. They tried really hard not to show us the face, but it's an entirely different outfit. So yes, she's a spoiled rich girl. Maybe she changed outfits between the segment she had earlier, which I don't know why she'd need to change outfits, but maybe she did, and being in the car, because they really went to a lot of trouble not to show whoever it is his face. And Grayson Waller did say when Tiffany Stratton walked past, girls love a bad boy, when she called him a scumbag. So, I mean, is it Tiffany? It'd be interesting, but I don't think you want to introduce her, and the first thing you want to do is go ahead and align her with him. Yeah, and Grand Theft Auto and wrestling, Grand Theft Auto and wrestling really isn't that big a deal. I mean, murder is considered okay. Like Grand Theft Auto, whatever. Nobody cares if you steal their car. I mean, Cody, you've watched wrestling long enough, especially in WWE. People don't care about murder.
Well, what? We had Stone Cold with the monster truck over Vince's car. We had, was it Stone Cold that also poured the concrete into Vince's limo?
Yeah.
And then you had Vince blow himself up in a car.
Yeah.
We've had like JBL's limo smashed and trashed by Crime Time and Cena. We've had Rikishi hit The Rock in somebody else's car. So
no, he hit Stone Cold Steve Austin
for
The Rock.
For The Rock, yes.
For The Rock. We had the DS Express getting blown up. Yeah, ask Impact for murder.
Yeah. I mean, they shoot a man at his own wedding.
They did.
But
by the way, that was a great cliffhanger too. By the way, I loved that episode. I couldn't believe that's how they ended that episode.
I don't want us to go way too far off topic, but you and I need to have a side chat here about Wrestle House 2. But that'll be after the show.
I have to see it first. I have yet to see Wrestle House 2. I need to see it.
Anyhow, did we have anything more on the Grayson and LA stuff?
No, that was about it. I mean, they're leading to another match. Fine, cool, whatever. I want them both involved in something new. But if this is just leading to Grayson Waller getting a big win and moving on to his next feud after New Year's Evil, fine.
But at this point, can we call LA Knight a big win, though, since he's really been the guy to take the pin to most of the 2.0 guys so far?
Yeah, because NXT still makes you feel like it's a big deal when you beat them. I mean, granted, they've all pretty much done it, but like they still treat it like it. I mean, he was in the War Games match as the fourth guy for Team Black and Gold. I mean, granted, it's because Samoa Joe's not there. It's because Timothy Thatcher's not there. It's because they didn't have any Black and Gold left.
Yeah.
But, I mean, LA Knight was the fourth. By the way, he was also the fourth man for Black and Gold and cut the best promo for Black and Gold before that show on that .com exclusive one, where he went for about 2.5 minutes talking about how great everybody else was in NXT. I'm just like, why is LA Knight the most intriguing part of this team? He's literally the also there because we need a fourth guy.
I feel like KOR probably should have been that fourth guy, but they had him too busy tied up in the Von Wagner stuff right now.
Yeah. And I said my stuff on Kyle O'Reilly last week, and I think I'm not going to try to infuriate any more people about that one. But do you think Samoa Joe will ever come back, Cody? Sean Cena brings up this question.
I know we talked about this a couple months back when the injury happened. I don't want it. At this point, Joe has been through so many concussion and back and neck problems. I would like to see Joe just take an executive role or a commentary role or something. Training, working. He can be on screen as like the enforcer like he was. I don't want to see Joe in a ring anymore because I, as a fan of Samoa Joe, am concerned about him putting his health at risk for no reason at this point, because he's not going to get another long title reign. He's not going to be pushed to the top of anything. He'd literally be wrestling just for the sake of wrestling. And WWE, there's not anything in WWE that he hasn't done anymore.
Yeah. Other than win a Universal or WWE Championship, but honestly, he doesn't need.
Yeah.
Like, you take his Impact run and you go ahead and you put him in your Hall of Fame and you call it a day and you let this guy just do his thing. If he were ever actually medically cleared and he could do it safely, yeah, I'd love to see him back in the ring if he could do it safely. But I don't think he can. And if that's the case, I'd much rather just not have him in the ring and have him healthy and have a mind of his own for the next 40 years than have something bad happen to him.
Not with the way his offense plays right now. The offense he's used his entire career, he takes a lot of bumps that end up with him on his head and the back of his neck. And, excuse me, if he were to come back, I think it would have to be a drastically changed offense and combat style for him. Very similar to what I saw from Daniel Bryan when he finally got the all clear to come back, and he'd do the running drop kicks or the running kicks into the corner, and he would use the ropes to brace himself instead of hitting and falling straight back, which most wrestlers do. And I don't think Joe has the agility or the movability to be able to maneuver his body to the same kind of flexible movements that Brian can.
Mm-hmm. Like I said, if Joe could do it healthy, sure, I'd love to. Samoa Joe is one of the best wrestlers in the world right now still. But if it's going to put his health at even more of a risk, it's not worth it. It's just not.
Who's this Alex guy? Is he that also ran that covered for me one week?
He did cover for you. And he also, and for anybody else who wants to check out Love Wrestling on YouTube at youtube.com/lovewrestlingca. And I think I have the banners. The live stream banners are still on Quizplex stuff. Hold on, here we go. If you go to youtube.com/lovewrestlingca, you can see Love Wrestling Figures, which is covered by our friend Alex, who does a lot of great things with Love Wrestling Figures, and you should definitely go check him out. I believe he's going to have new stuff coming in the new year, as he is getting ready for Spider-Man this weekend, just like I am. This Friday. Can't
Yet
wait.
again, another topic we could go way too far off on, but we have spent over a half an hour talking about Grayson Waller and Tony D'Angelo. So,
I mean, that seems like a good use of a half an hour to me. I'll be honest. It seems like a great use of a half an hour. He's also the producer of Between Two Beards. He is correct. He is the off-screen producer of Between Two Beards.
He is working behind the scenes of the flagship show. Apparently, they found the budget to bring him in. Before we just jump into the complete rundown, though, there is one other big part of tonight's show that I kind of wanted to really just clump together and focus on, because this was, other than the Grayson Waller segments, this really felt like it was a Diamond Mine heavy show.
Yep.
That we got an Ivy Nile match, we got a couple Malcolm Bivens promos, I think. We got a Roddy Strong match, and we got the Creed brothers involved in a match. Mm-hmm. So we started the show. We had just after the Grayson Waller promo, we had Diamond Mine backstage with Malcolm Bivens and Roddy Strong kind of calling out Braun Breaker and talking a little bit more about the cruiserweight, kind of, not caring about the weight limits of the cruiserweight, that Roddy's willing to take on all challengers. But that's for later. We got Ivy Nile doing her thing first. Ivy comes out, has a match against Amari Miller, who we've been seeing a fair amount for an enhancement talent at this point. I think she's wrestled most of the newer 2.0 females right now. And she's looking really good as an enhancement talent. She's doing her part well. Ivy, I'm smitten. Ivy Nile is just, she's great. She's got a great look. She's got a great moveset. She's got a great personality in the ring. She really sells her character, the push-ups, the crunches. I need somebody to put me in her finishing move, though, because I'm not certain that it would actually hurt, because I'm trying to figure out how putting my arm around my back like this, you're actually going to get hurt by that. But maybe if somebody does it to me, I'll realize how it hurts.
It looks great. It looks fantastic.
It does, but I don't know if it looks painful. It looks impressive that she can do that and like clench with a head under her arm, but I don't know if it looks painful.
Talk to John Morrison. I mean, and John Morrison had Starship Pain for how many years?
That's the post I was waiting for. Parrish can put me in it if Parrish can reach his arms behind his back that well.
Which ROH champion is Parrish standing next to? Parrish, tell me which ROH champion you're standing next to in that photo.
Yeah, that's not Cody, is it?
No, it looks a little like Taven, but he doesn't have the mohawk, so it's not Taven, and the belt's not purple. Ivy does look great and powerful. I love that she comes out with the chain, like the big, huge, gorilla chain. I love it. Oh, it is Matt Taven. Okay.
I am ready for Ivy to get into a deeper feud, though. That's the one thing with Ivy right now. I feel like she's kind of got her character work. She's got her moveset. She's got most of everything going in her direction. I'd like to see her, even if it's not necessarily a bigger name, just somebody that she can get a couple matches. Maybe somebody like similar to Cora Jade. Maybe not Cora Jade herself, but somebody gets an upset and Ivy has to come back and just demolish her. Just get it into something there where we can see a little bit more story being built outside of a match as opposed to these one-offs. That's the one thing with the squashes. The consistent squashes for new, like, strong talents, like they've done with the Creeds, like they're doing with Ivy. I enjoy them because it lets us kind of get used to their signature moves, their regular moves, what they do in the ring. And then you see them put it all together with an actual story eventually. I think Ivy's ready to take that next step and get into that story now. And I'd like to see how she handles her own in that.
Yeah. Yeah. Like I said, you've said everything I want to say. The other thing I want to see from Ivy Nile is her getting beat down and how she sells offense when she's not on top.
Yeah.
Because a lot of her matches is her being on top and her doing well and everything else. I'd love to see what happens if she puts her foot in her mouth and tries to go too big too soon and gets in there with a Raquel Gonzalez and gets her butt kicked. I want to see what she looks like because it's all great and dandy when you can sell when you're the big star and you're being enhanced in the match and it's a showcase for you. But what happens when you're in that showcase match and you're the one who has to do all the selling and you're the one getting beat down and you're the one, like, that's where I want to see her too. But yeah, a story would be great to get to that point.
They're on the same side of the face heel dynamic right now, but one place I would like to see it go is possibly Ivy and Elektra Lopez, and have a Diamond Mine and Legato kind of showdown at some point here. I mean, Legato and Hit Row was the best part of this entire summer, that you've got a 4v4 built in place now with Legato and Diamond Mine, that you could have something come of that. Roddy and Santos Escobar would be amazing. I mean, the Creeds would probably just destroy Raul and Joaquin, but that's what Raul and Joaquin do best.
Yeah. And so you've just answered it right here. Do we see Diamond Mine holding more titles in 2022 or breaking up? Doesn't sound like you see them breaking up, and honestly, I don't either.
No.
The only way these guys break up is when Roderick Strong's contract runs out and he leaves.
I would not be at all surprised if the Creed brothers are the ones to take the titles from Imperium.
I could see that. I could definitely see that. I thought they were building to a face team, but there aren't any face teams left that have that panache, unless you're talking Jacket Time. And if you're talking Jacket Time, I have no time for you.
I almost feel like Imperium at this point are kind of towing that line on Heeldom too. That they're almost reaching tweener status for me, that I enjoy seeing them on the screen more than I do a lot of the face teams that they have. So
I think that GYV are fantastic. I can't stand that they're now a comedy act. They have gone from being one of the most badass, I don't give a crap teams who would cheat to win and sell their own grandmother down the river if it helped them win titles, to James Drake having to learn how to cheat again, and them taking Toxic Attractions titles to get money from a dying aunt of Zach Gibson's. Like, it's all funny.
It was Granny Grizzled.
It's Granny Grizzled. Okay. But still, it's all pointless. Like, this is grizzled effing young veterans. This is, I want to take my shoes off if it's Zach Gibson's in the ring, like Cody always posts, like he did today in the thing. Whenever I see Zach Gibson, this is me, and he has a picture of somebody holding a.
I don't have a shoe handy, or I would hold it up right now.
Alex, it's a British indie thing. I don't know why it started. People take their shoes off when Zach Gibson comes to the ring. It's fantastic. If you've never seen a British indie crowd with Zach Gibson as Liverpool's number one, you need to go watch some good stuff from, I would say, if you want to find something free and easy, go watch some stuff from WCPW and Defy.
Zach Gibson versus Tyler Bate from early NXT UK. I wouldn't be surprised if it's somewhere on WWE's YouTube at this point. That was kind of the best I ever saw of the shoes off chant, was Tyler Bate legitimately took his shoe off to beat Zach Gibson with it.
Oh, no. They weren't selling the titles. They stole Toxic Attractions NXT Women's Tag Team Championships to show Grandma Grizzled that they were champions, so that Zach Gibson could get back in the front of the line for her money when she dies. It's absolutely insane. I love them. I love them to death. I mean, Funaki is SmackDown's #1 announcer, but Zach Gibson is Liverpool's #1. So take it for what it's worth.
I guess that's a good way to roll into where we were heading next, because Jacket Time and Grizzled Young Veterans had a match tonight. I thought it was actually a really strong match. I thought both sides played their parts well. And ultimately it ended up with our second Diamond Mine appearance of the evening, with the Creed brothers coming out and ultimately distracting Grizzled Young Veterans for Jacket Time to get the win, as a little bit of payback from last week when Grizzled Young Veterans distracted the Creed brothers, allowing Jacket Time to get the win. Again, nothing happening in a vacuum in NXT. We're already rolling in. You know, we had the Jacket Time Creed brothers feud. Now we're kind of bringing GYV in, that one of these teams is going to probably Jacket Time move away from Grizzled, and then Grizzled and the Creed brothers are going to feud. I do feel like the way this is playing out with the Grizzled Young Veterans, that whether it's the Creed brothers or something after they're done with the Creed brothers here, I think we're potentially heading to Zach Gibson getting fed up with Drake not being able to cheat properly, and Gibson turns on him, beats the crap out of him, and we get Zach Gibson on a long solo push.
And that's fine. Like, if it leads to Zach Gibson being Zach Gibson again and being a dirty, rotten scoundrel and being absolutely fantastic, then I'm all for it. I just want them to be taken seriously. Like, I don't dislike them being on TV and getting airtime. I just want them doing something that makes them feel special. And I don't think comedy work is making these two feel special.
I hope that the match we get out of Grizzled Young Veterans and the Creed brothers ends up being a solid match, because the Creed brothers are such talented mat wrestlers and technical wrestlers, and Zach Gibson is one of the best in terms of British strong style outside of Mustache Mountain and Pete Dunne, really.
And Walter.
And Walter. I don't even know if I consider Walter the same kind of British strong style. He's kind of a beast all himself, but
I mean, if you're talking strong style in Britain, it's hard not to.
Gibson's the bald one there.
Yeah, Gibson's the bald one. They're amazing. And just so Parrish hears it, the real answer is Funaki. Funaki is always been and will always be SmackDown #1 announcer.
I agree with Wordsmith.
Indeed. Sorry, we both tried to put it up at the same time. Anyways, no, I mean, I liked the work with all these teams here. I like the interplay between them all. The Creeds don't like either team, but last week they got screwed over by GYV when GYV stole the tag rope from Jensen and Briggs, BJBB or JBBJ, whatever it is. I forget. Their segment annoyed me again tonight too, and I know we'll get to it, but that segment annoyed me too.
That's because you have problems with the other people they were with, but again, we'll get there.
Yeah, we'll get there. But no, like, I like the Creeds being involved in this. It's giving them some personality. It's giving them some airtime. A three-way between all three of these guys is going to be fantastic. There's a lot of good to be had, but it's definitely a work in progress. Rock is a greater one. No, Rock is not a greater one. Rock's just around, and But if you want to see something about The Rock, tune into the Festivus episode of Poetry of a Promo from the Wordsmith, because he did one of The Rock's promos this week, I believe, when he was talking about the 12 Days of Christmas. Thank you. I saw you typing, and I was like, I hope this is going into the chat.
It's there. It's on screen now too.
I love it. I absolutely love it.
Anyhow, immediately following that Jacket Time and GYV match, we go through Roddy backstage running into Trick Mello on his way out to the ring for his match. Carmelo calling him out for being the champion, but
Not the A champion.
Yeah, but Melo is the A champion. Which is an interesting dynamic. Again, ships crossing in a night, a match that I'll love to see. I'll touch on this a little bit once I explain the whole rest of the main event. So we get Roddy out. We get some doctor updates from some other stuff that happened in the show. Braun makes his entrance, and then we see Melo and Trick just chilling out on the balcony watching the match.
By the way, since you've been gone, we've now christened this the Eagle's Nest.
The Eagle's Nest.
I don't know why I thought of it as the Eagle's Nest. They called it something specific when they were at Full Sail. They had an actual name for it, and I couldn't remember it, so I called it the Eagle's Nest, and it's just stuck. So it's now the Eagle's Nest that overlooks the ring.
Sure. So they're up in the Eagle's Nest, looking down, watching the match happen. Really, really strong match. I mean, Roddy Strong and Braun Breaker are both very talented in-ring presences. Mm-hmm. Very back and forth match. There was a point in the match where I didn't think Braun could win or would win against Roddy. But then when it happened, I was like, okay, it makes sense. He's going for the top title. I guess I was, wasn't really thinking deep enough about it that it wouldn't make sense for him to lose to like a second-rate champion when he's trying to be the top champion. So it does make sense for him to win at the end. The presence of Melo and Trick in this, though, and this is where my head went as we were seeing all of these ships crossing in the night. I know there's been a little bit of rumblings and rumors online about how WWE feels about their 205 division lately, along with how the War Game stuff played out with Joe Gacy and the fact that Roddy's been fighting guys like Odyssey and now Braun Breaker. I believe that this could be headed to Carmelo Hayes versus Roddy Strong, title versus title, where we see the North American title and the 205 just be blended together to become a single title. I think WWE has already kind of made it clear that they're moving away from the smaller wrestlers and the smaller talent. I don't think there's a place for 205 anymore. I think we move to an inclusivity. Maybe bring Joe Gacy back into it for the inclusivity factor of it one way or the other, but I think we head to the merging of these two titles and just the abolition of the cruiserweight title as a whole.
Yeah, Ashley brought this up last week when we had a similar segment where they set up the match between Braun Breaker and Roderick Strong in the ring in that whole segment. And then after as the show was ending, as we got right before the main event segment, Diamond Mine, which was at that point, I think it was just Ivy Nile, Malcolm Bivens, and Roderick Strong were outside, and they were talking. And Melo came up to him, and he's like, "Just remember, you can be the champion. That's fine. You can be the champion of NXT, but you're not the A champion. The A champion is me. And once you get done with Braun Breaker, I'll be there waiting for you, because I want to take that place." So I do think that we're definitely living into a field where we're getting a little bit of something. Either they're going to combine the two divisions, whether they're going to give the title to somebody like Joe Gacy and just use Roderick Strong to help push these the 2.0 guys even higher up the pedestal into the stratosphere with getting big wins, clean wins over Roderick Strong.
Yeah.
Dara agrees with you saying about the unifications. Sean Cena says, in his opinion, 205 died when Murphy and Cedric left for the main roster. I mean, yeah, it definitely died a death at some point. But there was a time period in NXT when it first came over there, and it was Leo Rush, and it was Angel Garza, and there was all kinds of great talent, and Kushida, where they were killing it on a weekly basis on NXT television. So, I mean, it wasn't completely dead, but it wasn't far off.
Yeah.
I don't know what the Fortress is. Maybe this is a Canadian thing.
It's to do with the Eagles suck comment, I think.
Oh, I mean, I'm a Patriots fan. Everybody sucks. The Patriots are the best. I mean, it is what it is. Who dat, all that crap.
The thing that I got out of it too, though, is feasibly, if we put Melo and Roddy together in a title versus title match, I could believe either one of them winning that title.
Oh, yeah.
I would believe 100% that Roddy could beat Mello, and I would believe 100% that Mello could beat Roddy. Both of them could be the one to usher in that generation of a new title, make the North American just that much more prestigious, that it's open to make it open to men, women, different weight classes, everybody versus everybody. Whoever wants the North American title, it's just a secondary title for anybody on the roster that's not fighting for their top singles titles on each side. We're at a place, and I think Joe Gacy mentioning and bringing up a couple weeks ago, bringing in, the cruiserweight title, by being 205, it's weight shaming, and by being, being only for men, and by being only for whatever, having a restriction on the title, it's just opening that door that we're heading towards a title that has no restrictions. No gender restriction, no weight restriction, no age restriction, no experience restriction. Anybody can fight for it anytime. And I say, why not? I think we're at a point in society now where a title like that being on the show, especially on a show like NXT, maybe the main roster is a little bit more conservative for something like that. I think NXT could pull it off as a title where anybody could come out and challenge anybody at any time and put on believably solid matches.
Oh yeah, and I believe it was Parrish last week, and I'm going to have to give him credit, and I don't want to. Parrish called it the NXT division.
Yeah. Parrish and I have had long conversations about one of the companies here in our hometown that has started bridging that gap of like gender fluidity or like gender fluid titles and not having restrictions on them. So I think as a whole, if you want to do it, take something like the North American title where it has no restriction on it, just blend the cruiserweight into it and just make the North American title that title for everybody to go after.
Yeah, because like I said, I was talking about when it was Gacy potentially winning the title, I was talking about Gacy versus Ivy Nile as an incredible feud that I couldn't wait to see. Because I think she could really physically get in the ring with him and be believable. It's kind of like your Tessa and Sammy kind of thing. Like you can believe the two of them in the ring together. And your Jordan Graces, all those wonderfully talented, incredibly strong women who can go ahead and feel like they belong in the ring with the men.
Yeah. Just as believable. Ivy Nile turning on Roddy Strong. Put Ivy Nile against Roddy Strong for the title?
Yeah, that'd be great. Dara Amazing says the NXT open weight title. Maybe.
But that's, very, very Diamond Mine heavy. Before we kind of cut back to the beginning and start from where the show started, now that we focused on kind of our highlights, just finish up that main event segment. After Braun beat Roddy, celebrating in the ring, he gets blindsided and laid out by Daddy Ciampa during his post-match celebration. Ciampa just knocks him down, knocks him out, basically tells him Braun may have won the battle at War Games, but the NXT title is the war. And on that note, with Ciampa kind of holding him up and standing over him, we get the credits and fade from the end of the show. I had started questioning on whether we were even going to get Ciampa tonight, but this was the way to do it. We don't need a lot of Ciampa on a show like this. It was very much a 2.0 heavy show, I thought. It wasn't so much about the originals as much anymore. But it was a nice touch to finish the show, to remind us and keep it in our minds that Ciampa and Breakker aren't done with each other yet.
Yeah, and it's another one of those feuds that I'm like, would it have been great if this ended and Braun Breakker was going to go into a program with somebody else and kind of, do some other things for the next 3 to 4 months and then come back to Ciampa? Yeah, it could have been great. That being said, am I disappointed that I'm going to see Ciampa and Braun Breakker back in the ring again soon? No, because I can't wait to see these two go at it. Because that first match was really good.
Yeah, the first match was. The second wasn't to the same level, but I think a third could definitely hit all those notes again. And the promo work between them, especially the shout outs to, you're barking, you keep barking, you're just a puppy, 33 and a third, all of the shots at his heritage.
Yeah, and then Johnny Gargano before the ladder match talking about how he's the big bad booty nephew.
Yeah, booty nephew.
Oh, that was great.
Yeah.
Parrish has an interesting comment here before we move on. I just want to definitely point it out because it is an interesting one. If you're not okay with men and women fighting in the cage or on the streets, I have no desire for it in the ring. I can by the way, as a person I understand intergender wrestling, and I think that it's important to have on television if you're going to have it in the indies. But I can also see this point of view exactly and going, yeah, I get it. It makes sense. Wrestling is supposed to be a fantasy world where all kinds of things can happen. So is it different than seeing it in the cage or seeing it on the streets? Yes. In my mind, it's a little bit different. But at the same time, I can totally understand people's point of view about it. It's a divisive issue that deserves, an answer that isn't necessarily. It's not a black and white issue. It's a gray area. It's a huge gray area in the world of wrestling.
Yeah, like we say, it's a fantasy. It is still a fantasy world at the end of the day. The streets and the cage are reality. I know you're supposed to suspend your disbelief and, take it for what it is as believing that the wrestling world is a reality world, which, I mean, in a company that doesn't even acknowledge that COVID exists, I don't know how I'm supposed to believe it's a reality world still. But if we're living in a fantasy in that things can happen, we've got supernatural beings, we've got people dying and coming back from the dead and faking their own deaths and walking away from being hit by vehicles, it's not that hard to believe that we're in a world in the wrestling rings where men and women can be equal in the ring and wrestle with each other in the ring.
Yeah, and I also think that intergender wrestling needs to be treated seriously if it's going to be on television. And I go back to, because it's the most prominent example of recent in-ring, a good job being told of a story of it. Sami Callihan and Tessa Blanchard was a fantastically well-told story by Impact Wrestling. They did a fantastic job of making you believe that Tessa belonged in the ring with Sami and that she could realistically beat Sami up. And that's something that's important. You don't want Odyssey Jones versus Cora Jade. That's not believable. You have to have a semblance of belief, which is where you get into Ivy Nile versus Joe Gacy, Ivy Nile versus Roderick Strong, Cora Jade versus Grayson Waller, things like that. There's versions of this that can work, and there are versions of it that can't.
Like you say, the Tessa Blanchard, Sami Callihan in Impact. My first thought was Chelsea Green and Rohit Raju in Impact just a couple months back.
I didn't even think
believable.
Of that one.
Chelsea Green and Rohit Raju are almost the same size. They played it like Rohit hit her and actually hurt her, and Cardona had to come to her rescue. But at the same time, when they were wrestling, I believed that Chelsea Green could be doing to Rohit all the things she was.
Yeah.
So
it's a gray area, and there's a reason why WWE hasn't done it in a long time, and its sponsors don't like it, and it gives some people the wrong impression, and it personifies to a portion of the audience that violence against women is okay, and all of these things are important, and all of those things should be treated seriously. And then you have, again, like we all said, in the same realm of belief, you have supernatural beings and magic powers, where you have people like Malachi Black who show up in the middle of the ring, or you have the Fiend Bray Wyatt and pop up out of nowhere. Or the Undertaker
Boa being taken over by some spirit, and
oh no, that's completely believable. I mean, you saw Mei Ying spit the blit. No, just friggin' Boa. Oh, Boa. We'll get to Boa later.
We will. For now, though, I think we have something we have to cut to, right, Ed?
We do. I am going to play us a promo from the Wordsmith about Manscaped.
Salutations. Wordsmith here to tell you about Love Wrestling's wonderful sponsor, Manscaped. Now, if you don't know what Manscaped is, you must be living in the shed. See what I did there? This is the shed. This is the carrying case from Manscaped. But what do you put in here, I wonder? Well, you can put lovely products like the Crop Preserver Ball Deodorant, because let's face it, gents, sometimes they don't quite have the aroma that we all need and or want. So use this and make those problems go away. You can keep them toned and keep them looking extra spiffy with the Crop Reviver Ball Toner. Yes. All things. But, that shed looks pretty darn big, doesn't it? Look at the size of this thing. What else comes with it, I wonder? Well, do you hear that? It's purring like a kitten. It's looking sleek as heck. Look at that. That, ladies and gentlemen, and lizards alike, is the... Oh, too much purring, I suppose. This is the Lawnmower 4.0, only available at Manscaped. But why am I telling you about this? And is one question you're probably asking. Well, because I've got a deal for you. If you go over to manscaped.com right now and use promo code LOVEWRESTLING, you will receive 20% off plus free shipping. Is he out of his mind? No, I'm just reading text, actually, is what's happening, because Manscaped is a Love Wrestling sponsor. So use promo code LOVEWRESTLING. Get 20% off. Your balls, they're going to thank you.
There we go. Thank you for the wordsmith for giving us that promo. And I've now just put in the chat a clickable link, hopefully, for Manscaped. With our, like I said, use the promo code Love Wrestling for 20% off and free shipping. I can't wait. Mine comes tomorrow. I'm so excited. I've seen everybody else opening theirs and getting all their packages. Mine comes tomorrow. I'm going to do an unboxing so we can go ahead and have that. So it's going to be fun to see.
You got to take and get on that Manscaped, and you can make your downstairs look as good as my face is right now.
Yeah, or better.
Dara, it is not just for Canada, I don't believe. I believe it is for everywhere. It is
for everywhere.
Love Wrestling Code will be working on the Manscaped site regardless of where you are.
And I believe that if you want the Canadian pricing for any of those of you who are in Canada, I believe Carl says to go to ca.manscaped.com, I think it is. And you can go ahead and get Canadian pricing for it. Because if you go to manscaped.com and use our code Love Wrestling, it'll all be in US dollars.
Fair. Anyhow, now that we've went off on a whole lot of tangents about the Diamond Mine, Grayson Waller, and Tony D'Angelo, let's start at the beginning. We open the show after the Grayson Waller arriving at the building. We open with Grimes versus Duke Hudson in a no-holds-barred match. I am going to quickly divert into Dara's topic.
Yeah, I was going to say, do we want to? Yeah.
Because I like the idea of it. At this point, there's a lot of stuff that would be great matches along the way. The one that has the best storyline implications that I would like to see would be Elektra Lopez versus Santos Escobar for control of Legado.
If I'm not limited to a specific company or a specific brand, I would love to see something like Bayley versus MJF. Because I think the promos leading into that match would be fantastic. And I think they're both good enough in the ring that they could come up with a pretty damn good match to go with it.
Yeah.
And just think of MJF ragging on all of the old NXT Bayley stuff. Like, is he in the crowd at AEW now? There's a lot of good stuff that MJF could mine from that. Maybe. I mean, Alexa Bliss is fantastic, and I wouldn't mind her in a whole bunch of different matches. I don't know if Finn Balor is... if Alexa's going to do intergender, it needs to be something special. Again, I think of these matches, and I think of the promos that have to go with them. So they have to be... Like, for me, it's more about the promo than it is the match. And can I get to a believable match to it? What about Alexa Bliss versus The Miz?
Yeah.
Like, that could be fun.
We could go on all day about this, though. I think we've given our options. I'd love to see everybody else's ideas in the comments there. Dara Mako Satomura versus Tyler Bate. Yep.
Could do that.
Yep.
Yeah.
But Duke Hudson versus Cameron Grimes for, what are we on, the third time now?
Yeah, third time lucky.
What did you think of this one?
It was a match. It was a no holds barred match. It was a street fight. It was fine. It was great. These two have decent chemistry. Duke Hudson looks like an absolute fool with the Kurt Angle styled gimmick with the rag on his head and the wrestling gear on it. Josh Alexander is the only man who makes wrestling in old school independent wrestling gear, headgear, work for him in the ring. Everybody else just looks like a damn fool when they do it. That being said, I thought Duke was going to get the win at some point here. Nope. We're going to continue building Cameron Grimes. So Grimes is being built for somebody. So I'm going to guess he's getting an NXT championship match sometime in the near future.
Cameron Grimes is the first contestant for Braun Breaker.
That could be fun. That could be a nice, fun wrestling feud going into Mania. Yeah, I mean, it's interesting. The one spot I remember from this match, it's the one spot I remember. It wasn't, as I said when I posted it in the chat, and Cody's like, I'll get to it soon enough. I'm just about on my way home from work. The Uranagi where Duke caught him and waited about a good 15 seconds to make sure he had him just where he wanted him to put him through the chair, and he still missed the chair a little bit. Was it the greatest Uranagi in the world? No, it wasn't quick. It wasn't fluid. But that being said, it still looked like it hurt like hell. It was a great spot. None of this did anything for Duke, which is fine as long as you're doing something for Cameron. He looks great with the new haircut. The trim looks great. If you want your trim to look great, go ahead and get Manscaped at, manscaped.com.
Cameron Grimes may not manscape yet, but I bet he'd use the Love Wrestling code if he got it.
Absolutely. Hopefully we can get him to use our code to go ahead and get himself 20% off. People saying, oh, hold on. I figured Duke would win this time. Dara agrees. I agree. I thought Duke was going to win. Duke losing is okay. Somewhere down the road, he would get his back again on Grimes. And again, this goes back to something, Cody, when you were doing the Elite Report with JPJ and Pluggo, that sometimes a wrestler just has somebody else's number. It's just that guy that they can't beat. At that point, we were talking about MJ. You guys were talking about MJF and Chris Jericho. Yeah. But I think it definitely fits here with this whole feud is about that Cameron Grimes is just that guy that Duke can't get past.
Duke just can't understand Grimes. And I think that's really what the poker room stuff told us is, Grimes where he didn't fold in the live segment and is like, I didn't even know you could fold.
Yep.
And just Duke Hudson thinks he's got him all figured out, and Cameron Grimes doesn't even have himself figured out, let alone somebody else figuring him out.
Yeah.
It's a good dynamic of personalities. It's really weird seeing Grimes with like the cut hair and the trim beard now. It's so awkward watching him like that. He doesn't look like Cameron Grimes to me anymore, but at the same time, I still enjoy watching him wrestle. That Uranagi, I mean, it could have been really, really hard hit. But it almost looked like he barely touched the chair and it shot 20 feet across the ring.
Yeah.
The one for me, at least in live motion, was the cave-in onto the chair that finished the match. But in the slow motion highlight they showed, it was more of a drop kick where he just kicked him and Hudson fell over in the chair still. Whereas I thought the chair had actually like collapsed under him.
Yeah.
Solid match. I think they had a better one on the War Games show, but this one was still an enjoyable open and a fast, hot open to the show to get me really kind of going for the 2 hours.
And it gets the crowd into it, so the crowd is ready for the stuff that comes next and things like that. Like, it gets the crowd amped. And this is why, everybody will tell you, this is why WCW was smart when they were beating WWE in the ratings and trying to get there. What did Nitro start with every week? It didn't start with a 10-minute promo from Roman Reigns. It didn't start with a DX promo or a Triple H promo. No. It started with the cruiserweights.
Yeah.
And then it went to that stuff because you get the crowd into the show with the cruiserweight stuff, and you give them 10 minutes just to do all their stuff. And Bischoff, as said before, he doesn't care what they did. He didn't care. All he wanted was the crowd involved. Crowd gets involved. Boom. Now you go to the NWO, and now you've got the crowd, booing and cheering for the NWO.
They're already a hot crowd. You turn that heat into actual heat for the heels. For, getting a fast-paced hot start, getting the crowd going, and then slowing it down. It just pisses them off.
No, not the Nitro Girls. I don't think anybody really liked the Nitro Girls when watching the Monday Night Wars. Like, they were there.
I was a 13-year-old boy at that time.
They were pretty to look at, but like none of the Nitro Girls were as good as the females that were on WWE doing all the WWE things they were doing. So
yeah, fair.
Is what it is.
I hope this is the end of the Grimes and Hudson stuff. I really do. I hope Duke Hudson can move on. I wouldn't mind if Hudson takes a week or two to, maybe get a little bit of stubble. It's really weird seeing him with a shiny head. Grow a little bit of that hair back. Give me something on the top of your head, maybe. But I do think Grimes is, now that he's won the LA Knight feud, he's won a Duke Hudson feud. Maybe you put him in one other holdover feud if you're not ready to shoot him to the top yet. But I think he's on his way to the moon. After this, we go backstage for a quick little segment with Cora Jade and Dakota Kai, hyping up their match for tonight. Dakota trying to claim that Raquel Gonzalez is just latching on and using Cora's success to keep herself relevant, and that Raquel will turn on Cora too. Cora turns it around and calls Dakota mom, which was kind of weird, but I mean, if Tommaso's daddy, I almost want to just start calling Dakota mommy now.
By the way, I looked it up just because my mother was like, what the hell is going on here? Because I watch NXT with my mom sitting next to me, and she's like, what the hell is going on here? And I'm like, I'm curious now. Dakota Kai is 33. Cora Jade is 20. It almost sort of kind of math works.
I'm all in on Mommy Kai.
Yep. Okay, there we go. Mommy Kai. Astrid, you're going to love this when you see this on playback. She's gonna hate us.
Dakota was so confused by it, and then she just kind of turns and walks away saying, I'm not ready for that.
It's so great. This new Dakota Kai is great though. Like the pacing of her promo when she was talking about what Raquel is going to do to Cora Jade if Cora Jade gets involved with her, and them talking about, it's going to be, maybe you guys can be the tag team champions. And it's just so condescending.
And win the Dusty Cup.
Yeah, win the Dusty Cup. It's just so condescending and so fantastic. And I just loved it. Like pure, just unadulterated hate in like the most spiteful little girl kind of like high school bullshit. It was just great. Loved it.
Ultimately just setting up kind of the match itself for later in the evening between the two. And Cora mentioning that she doesn't care what Dakota thinks about Raquel because when she beats Dakota tonight, she'll be one step closer to Mandy's title. Then they go, I forget if this was before or after we got a commercial break there, but we had the country music festival where Briggs and Jensen sitting on the tailgate of a big pickup truck talking about going to a music festival. And then we get Casey Catanzaro and Caden Carter pull up in a nicer pickup truck, and Briggs and Jensen decide to hop in with the girls and go out to the music festival and enjoy some music and line dance. And there was one part I turned my head away where I think Casey and Caden like dipped each other or did something because the boys just dropped their mouths. Clearly, Ed enjoyed this so much, it's got him all hot and bothered under the collar.
Yeah, so much. So. Oh God, I hated it. This is fine. I don't want the EDM dance girls going to the country festival and teaching the country guys how to line dance. I thought that was kind of dumb. Like, if Jensen and Briggs are supposed to be the kind of guys who go ahead and like go to the bar every night and like they became a tag team because after fighting each other on television and getting into a fight in a bar, they become friends. Like, they've been to enough country bars to have seen country line dancing and know how to do it. Like, it shouldn't have taken Casey Catanzaro and Caden Carter to teach them how to country line dance.
They learned the line dances on TikTok. Come on, let's be fair.
Probably. What, I don't know what this TikTok is. I follow Love Wrestling on TikTok, and you should too. Carl Carafel is a really good follow on TikTok. Josh is a good follow on TikTok. They produce really good ones. I don't know if any of the rest of us do TikTok enough to really push us, but the three of them do really, really good TikToks that I really enjoy. That being said, why? I don't understand. It made me sad. I was glad when it was over.
These music festival skits with Casey Squared are something.
Like they fit in at the EDM concert. I don't understand. I'm so confused.
Anyhow,
yeah.
We went through a Waller segment, then we went through the Diamond Mine backstage, and then we got Lashing Out with Lash Legend. With Lash Legend.
Yeah, I forgot about this one too.
Yeah. Where she opens the show and has special guests. It's jacket time.
Yeah, great.
And apparently Lash is a huge fan of their style and asks them what their style is so that Ikemanjiro can get out his line about them being style strong. And then Jiro goes off on a rant in Japanese that has closed caption, and I hope the closed captions were accurate to what he was actually saying. It's so hard to tell because who knows with WWE. They could easily just put their script on TV and tell Jiro to start shouting something, and hopefully it matches up. I had strong feelings on this, but I'm not sure which side I'm on of this coin, because the way this played out with Jiro going on his rant in Japanese with the closed captions, and then when he was done his yelling, the crowd and Lash were just kind of like, what? And then it, like, just that awkward silence, and then Jiro just shouts out, "It's jacket time," and everybody starts cheering and clapping. And to me, it left me with really strong feelings of this is how WWE has presented foreign characters for so long, that they're not expected to say anything other than their catchphrases because they believe the audience won't connect if they don't know what the person's saying. So you have a Japanese guy speaking in Japanese, nobody knows what he's saying, so they're all just silent until he screams out some random English catchphrase that they can all cheer and applaud. I don't like it for the fact that it gives me that memory of all of the people who have been wronged due to racial and language barrier issues by WWE in the past. But at the same time, I almost feel like it's an awareness of their own past in how they're presenting it here. And hopefully it's them acknowledging how they've wronged teams like Kushida and Jiro in the past and how they're going to move forward going ahead with this. But I mean, NXT 2.0 has been doing a good job of really telling stories that move the needle beyond where we've been stuck for 20 years in WWE. But it still has me nervous that, is this actually how they're going to treat Jiro and Kushida, or are they making a tongue-in-cheek mockery of how they've done them wrong in the past and now they're going to do it right?
Yeah, I mean, first, Dar Amazing says it right. If only WWE weren't so stereotypical. That being said, like you've said, they've done a really good job in the past of Legado del Fantasma being authentic. The word we always use when we talked about LDF and Hit Row was the authenticity of the gimmicks, not being a crime time type of thing, not being an early New Day where they're preachers and dancing and singing and all that kind of stuff. Like, taking these gimmicks seriously. They've done it with Marcel Bartel and Eichner. Yeah, with Fabian Eichner, with letting them talk in Italian and German. They've done a really good job of letting Asuka go off in Japanese. They're letting these two guys go off in Japanese. The problem with letting a talent be comfortable in speaking in their own foreign language is while you can get it across to the people at home watching on television or not watching live, like in person, you can go ahead and give enough subtitles or context to understand what they're saying to make it work. To a crowd in person who doesn't understand it, or sadly, a crowd of random people who are told just sit there and look stupid for 20 seconds, it gives you a bad idea.
Not to mention the one random female in a like snuggie in a sleeping bag, sleeping through it all, that wakes up just to cheer because she heard Jacket Time.
By the way, that is, I believe, Ashley's going to get mad at me if I don't remember this. The girl who walked past the segment in the beginning is Karen Q, the former Mei Ying.
Okay.
This is her new gimmick of being in her, nighttime attire and being constantly and normally behind the scenes of all the stuff going on backstage. This time she walked through the segment. That being said, it is what it is. Yeah, I feel for Jacket Time. I'm not a huge fan of the idea of Jacket Time. I wish Kushida was doing something that mattered. That being said, I like Ika Manjiro and Style Strong is fun. They can both speak enough English to get across their point. It's not like they can't, so let them speak in English. That being said, like I said, it works for us at home because, like you said, they can throw up the script and put the subtitles there, and we get, what we want to know. Yeah. I'll put it up because it's funny. Why is she so tired all the time? Tiensha. She's tired with the fact that she has to put up with watching Boa.
Yeah.
We'll get to Boa. But no, Sean Cena brings up this point. I mentioned it earlier. Astrid had showed me earlier in this week an article that says that Lash Legends is dropping the lashing out segments and that we won't see them anymore because they've kind of gone away from it, in the last few weeks of 2.0. That being said, that article was posted literally this week, like Thursday of last week, Friday. And it was, I think, from a quote from Meltzer talking about potentially how they were going to start lowering that because Lash Legends is going to be focusing more on her in-ring stuff. I don't watch 205 Live. I have no idea how she did. Maybe she's great. We'll find out when they finally put her in the ring on NXT.
I didn't know anybody watched 205 Live other than the SmackDown audiences who were forced to.
And even they don't watch it much.
Yeah. So after lashing out, we went through the Ivy Nile match, and then we got a interesting backstage segment. Starts out with a Zion Quinn interview where he basically just talks about, he understands now, he knows the rules. Last week they caught him. Now he knows how it's done, and he doesn't really seem like he's done with Legato and Electra quite yet.
Good.
While he's speaking, we have Robert Stone just walk up on the other side of the interviewer beside him, and just stand there waiting till Zion's finished, and then he demands that he needs to be taken more seriously in NXT, to which Von Wagner shows up and interrupts him, saying last week was just the start, and next week he's coming back to break more bodies.
He also threw in a Roman Reigns smash for good measure.
Yeah. This was a little chaotic. None of them really said anything of too much importance. I mean, Zion just kind of mentioning that, he's not done with Legato. Sure. Robert Stone, I could care less about at this point. Von Wagner, interesting. Probably could have deserved a little bit more than the 10 seconds he got today. All in all, it was a good way to jam them all together and have each of them get a couple words in, I guess.
I mean, to Zach's point earlier, they did it all in one promo so that you didn't have to have 11 of them. Like, at least it was all in one, and they all took up maybe 30 seconds.
Yeah.
Like, Quinn took up maybe a minute. Then Stone took maybe 30 seconds. And then, like you said, Von Wagner probably took about 10 to get out the words he needed to get out without stumbling through them, seemingly almost coherent, and then walking away. So, cool.
And then just to top it off, you have the three of them all cutting each other off backstage in an interview. And then we cut to Joe Gacy and Harlan, who look like they're in a forest somewhere. But then it's like they mentioned Harlan being ready, and Joe walks off, and Harlan walks off, and I guess they're coming to the ring for a match. I'm like, how are you coming to the ring for a match if you're standing out in the trees?
Magic of editing.
And then talking about head in the trees, we go after the commercial break to MSK and Shaman Riddle emptying a bunch of stuff out of their pouch.
They won. At one point, they take out the United States title spinner belt, and
seen as the U.S. title.
Yeah,
they had a baseball bat in there, which was kind of the big reveal that it was a like Harry Potter magic, like bigger on the inside, Doctor Who, Time Warlord, who knows what else going on in there. They pull out a baseball bat. They pull out the spinner belt. I think there was a couple. Oh yeah, the pylon. And then they pull out. Riddle reaches like shoulder deep down into the bag and pulls out his scooter, and gives the big like mind-blowing reveal that sometimes to get what you want, you have to dig deep. So then both members of MSK dig deep into the bag and pull out scooters of their own. So I guess like MSK are just gonna be Riddle light now.
Sure, cool, whatever. I mean, apparently there's 4 or 5 of these filmed for the next few weeks. So great.
It's been entertaining. It's the most entertained I've been by MSK since I first saw them debut in NXT. Parker and Lee are good as playing like dumb stoners like this, but I don't know. We'll see if they have a little bit more personality when they actually come back and start wrestling again.
I can't wait to see them get in the ring because it means I won't have to listen to them talk. The Rascals are a love it or hate it thing. In the ring, they're absolutely fantastic. When they get on the mic, they're Zach Wentz and I don't know who plays Wesley.
Wesley and
Xavier. It's Xavier.
Okay.
Anyways, these guys, they're fantastic in ring talents, but the mic is not their strong suit.
I mean, they play good dumb stoners.
Xavier. That's what it is.
The 7 km/h segment from a couple weeks back that I didn't get to talk about was quite humorous. Like, man, slow down. You don't want to, like, we're going too fast. Look, oh God, there's police lights in the. Well, do you know the speed limit? And you know how fast you're doing? 7.
35, 40. Yeah. The GPS yelling at them, telling them it's taken them 5 weeks to get somewhere. Yeah, right. I mean,
it's fun comedy stuff. It's Riddle plays the bro character in the ring really well. I think these two just play the numbskull stoner idiots really well. I would like to see a little bit more of that play out in their characters in the ring when they come back, though.
They remind me of Harold and Kumar.
Yeah. All in all, like these segments, I haven't been able to talk about them really because I haven't been on with you since they really started airing. But as a whole, I've enjoyed seeing how it played out, to the Riddle reveal, to them getting scooters now and wherever else. Like, are they going to take 5 weeks now finding their way back to the CWC?
I mean, I think I got everybody's hopes up when we were talking about these segments while you were gone. When they mentioned the shaman, like they said the word shaman for like the 16th time. And then they said, tag team and guru. And I was like, oh my God, it's going to be John Morrison. I'm so excited. Like, how cool would it be if it was John Morrison? And then that next week, within the next 7 days, Morrison got released. And I'm like, I feel sad.
After this, we go to the ring for Harlan's in-ring debut finally.
Yeah. Not against Malik Blade, like I said, I would have bet the house on last week. So
no,
he didn't bet the house.
It was against a guru that wasn't MSK's guru.
Yeah.
Guru Raj.
Guru Raj.
My notes that I have for this match, I wasn't entirely impressed. I thought it was a decent debut. I felt like Harlan was trying to show more strength than he actually has, though. There was one specific spot for the finish there where it almost seemed like he struggled to get Guru up for that finisher. That I know everybody's touting him as the next Brock Lesnar. I think he's got a ways to go now that I've seen him in the ring. But the violent nature of Harlan. Like, this played out over a little bit. We had this match, we had a post-match beatdown, and then Harlan getting like walked out of the arena by security and WWE officials. He ends up assaulting Coach Brian Kendrick, who when they finally identified that that's who it was, I didn't even believe it was the former WWE champion, Brian Kendrick.
Cruiserweight champion.
No,
he was
champion in the scramble match.
I forget. Yes, he was technically a champion during the scramble match.
Yep.
He's not recognized as having a world title reign, but he was a champion during the scramble. You are correct. He was a champion during the scramble.
But I didn't even recognize him in the scrum because I hadn't realized he'd shaved the beard off and was babyface Brian again. But he got launched down probably a good 8 to 10 stairs, I think, that Harlan threw him down the stairs.
Onto a crash pad, you think?
Probably.
Okay.
Either that or they cut that in a segment where it really wasn't all the way down the stairs, and then they cut back where they are on stairs. One of the two. Mm-hmm. But throughout the night, we saw the updates where Kendrick backstage getting looked at, and then they announced before the main event that he had been taken to a hospital facility and apparently suffered a cervical fracture. But Harlan's violent nature with Gacy just eerily smiling in the background. Like Gacy talking about like, you know, this is a safe space. We don't need to fight. We don't need violence. We solve things with our words. And then having him paired with somebody as aggressive and violent and nasty as Harlan, it's a different, interesting pairing that really has me interested in seeing where they go with this now.
This reminds me of Dr. Frankenstein and Frankenstein's monster. That's what this pairing gives me, that vibe. It's the creepy doctor who wants the big bad monster, and he has the big bad violent monster. Now, granted, Frankenstein's monster was not as violent and in his own head. I think we're going to get to that point. I think we're going to get violent Harlan until a point where he attacks Gacy and is like, no, I don't want to be this way. You make me this way. I don't want to be violent. And he, comes down a bit. Or he just stays the violent monster. Either or. I'm cool with either because he looks great as a violent monster. The match was okay. Like you said, it wasn't the standout match I was hoping to see. The spinning rock bottom bookend finish is kind of cool. That's what it looked like to me. I think that's what it was. It's fine. He'll be able to hit it on pretty much anybody. I don't think there's anybody he can't hit it on. So good for him. He's strong enough to be able to do it. But yeah, no, I agree. He has some holes, but he's young and he's teachable and he's got the look and he's got his character down pat.
Yeah. He has that Mike Myers vibe down to a T.
Yeah. I'm excited to see where it goes. Like, is it the greatest thing since sliced bread #2? No. Sorry, I thought I put a little Kendrick reference in there.
Oh, I got it.
I don't think he's the greatest thing, but like it's cool, it's interesting, it's different from anything else on the show, so I can go with it.
So we've only got 2 segments left to talk about, and I think I'm going to skip the next one in actual consecutive order and jump to the further one, which was smaller, and then come back to the women's match. So we'll jump ahead to Idris Enofe versus Boa. And they showed, before the match, they showed the brief segment of Enofe's debut pre-War Games against Solo Sikoa, where Boa came out to attack Solo and ended up attacking Enofe too when Enofe tried to save Solo. They talked a little bit about Enofe trying to make a name and Boa with his supernatural powers and how he doesn't even understand what his powers do yet. And I really got the sense they were trying to sell me on Boa here. But by the end of the match, I cared more about Enofe than I've ever cared about Boa.
They're trying to make us care about Boa. I still could care less.
Yep. 100% more interested in Enofe than I have ever been in Boa in his time in NXT.
And the great thing is while you were gone, I think you would have seen this when you did your rewatch. They had that great before the Solo Sikoa match. They had that really great promo package for him, and I really liked it. And I'm really excited to see where he goes from here, because like Boa, I could care less. Like, great that they're trying. I like that they're still trying to get Boa over, and they're trying to figure out something for Boa. He's the first guy from their Chinese class. When they went to China and did all those things, he was the guy they signed. They want to make him. I agree. He doesn't capture the attention. He doesn't do anything for me. He's half decent in the ring, but there are plenty of guys that you can get that can do what he does better than him, that catch my eye and make me. Hell, Trick Williams can essentially do what Boa does in the ring, and I want to see Trick Williams 1,000 times more than I want to see Boa.
Yeah. The other interesting part of this match, though, was that we got a couple different looks backstage at Solo Sikoa watching the match. So whether we're heading towards Sikoa versus Boa, whether we could potentially see Inoue and Sikoa form a tenuous alliance or a team, or, you know, it wouldn't make sense for Solo to form a team, I don't think, but maybe, or maybe it's just an alliance where one of them turns on the other eventually. I care more about those two than Boa, and as far as I'm concerned, Boa should just be a vehicle to get those two involved in further storylines.
And we shouldn't have had Inoue lose this match, but he did.
If that's where we're going with Inoue, is him kind of losing to begin with and having to find his place. I mean, he's still new. He's not a highly touted that's going to come in and start winning every match. He could be one of those guys that has to come in, lose a couple, find his place, and then get in a groove. I'm okay with that when they do those stories well.
I just don't want him losing to Boa. Like, yeah. I'm fine with it. Like, if you want to have him lose to, you know, Joe Gacy, you want to have him lose to Tony D'Angelo, you want to have him lose to Andre Chase or, you know, Odyssey Jones. Yeah, I'm fine with that. But, like, let him at least beat Boa. Like, let him beat Boa. Like, he doesn't have to win against, like, guys that, like, are you know, guys you're going to push. But, like, beat Boa.
They're going to push Boa to be somebody that should actually be
but nobody
for Solo, and then Solo will beat down Boa and he'll fade away again.
Hopefully fade away and classify himself as obsolete.
Yeah. And delete. So the last segment of the night, and probably one of the better segments of the night, is Cora Jade versus Dakota Kai, which we set up earlier with their backstage interview. Cora makes her entrance, and as she's skateboarding around the ring, all of a sudden Mandy, and I'm sure Ed enjoyed this because Mandy Rose comes out in a tight black leather bodysuit, cuts off Cora's skateboard path. They have a little bit of a stare down, and then we're told that Mandy's joining the commentary. As we go to break, we come back, Dakota comes to the ring, and we get another solid overall match. A botched head scissor early, where I don't know if Dakota should have sold as well as she did for Cora not even getting her feet around Dakota's head. But other than that one misstep early, I felt like this was a pretty crisp match between the two of them. And Cora really looks like she's coming along. The idea that she keeps getting all of her victories by roll-ups is something interesting, and that it's actually getting her a title shot as somebody who just keeps rolling everybody up along the way is something that's unique enough for me to be interested in it.
I like how Mandy pointed it out on commentary too. Yeah. As the match is ending and she's gotten the roll-up win, Mandy says she's all about luck.
Yeah. Ultimately, the finish is Dakota going for her trusty shovel under the ring and the ref taking it away from her, which allows Cora to get the roll-up. And then Dakota tries to beat down Cora after the roll-up pin, and Raquel Gonzalez comes out, makes the save, chases off Dakota Kai, to which we get a little bit later on Raquel and Dakota brawling outside, setting up a street fight between them for next week. And then in the ring, Cora kind of recovering from the little bit of a post-match attack that Dakota did get. We get Toxic Attractions music. We get Gigi and JC on the ramp coming out and distracting long enough for Mandy to sneak in from behind and cold cock Cora with the title to the back of the head and beat her down.
Nice arm breaker, by the way, by Mandy in that segment. Realizing which arm is the bad arm, making sure that she took the bad arm, because I had a very, very minor freak out when I'm like, oh my God, please don't let her grab the wrong arm. Please don't. Because Mandy's great, but Mandy's still new at this and she's not used to this main event push. And I'm like, just don't grab the wrong arm. Because how many times have we seen the person sell the wrong side when they're doing something like that? I'm just like, just grab. Okay. But she grabbed the right one. Nice little way to get into that arm bar, arm breaker spot. Nice.
Yep. I think we've seen this match before, haven't we, though?
Yeah.
That Cora and Mandy, and it got interrupted, that we didn't get a finish, if I recall correctly.
No, Cora Jade rolled up Mandy and won.
Did she? That was pre-Mandy winning the title, though, right? Okay.
I believe so, yeah.
Okay. I did feel like I remembered. I didn't do my research to try and figure out when that happened, but I did feel like I remembered the two of them in the ring against each other a month or two ago. So, I mean, if that is the case, then that Cora did roll her up, then it makes sense that Cora gets this again and is already in a place for a title shot because she's pinned the champion.
November 23rd.
Okay. Quick research. I appreciate it.
Google. Gotta love it.
No, I mean, this was one of the better segments of the night for sure. And that's kind of why I kept it here for our last piece to talk about before we close out our show, because ultimately the women's title is one of the key attractions on the show still, even though, Carmelo wants to think he's the A champion and Roddy thinks he's the champion, and Daddy Ciampa thinks that he's got,
the world championship.
Yeah. We've got all of these champions touting their spots, and then Mandy she's there, but I feel like she's starting to get a little overshadowed, and she needs these moments to really kind of put her back on the map again and make sure that the women's title doesn't start fading away. We're still getting women's content. We're still getting women's matches on the show. We had Ivy in a match this week. We had this Cora match. We had Mandy involved. We had a Tiffany segment backstage, brief as it may be. Io was still on the TV. Elektra was still on the TV.
Yeah, I mean, it's fantastic that we're still getting stuff. It's important to note that this was the draw segment. This was that middle between the 8 to 9 o'clock hour. This is what was on your screens as the times change, which is important for viewership numbers. Now, granted, we're not going to get great viewership numbers. It's NXT television. Yeah, Vic did say that Cora re-injured her arm. The whole injury is all storyline injury. It's a subluxation. I have a knee subluxation that my doctor says, yeah, the knee just pops in and out as you walk. It's fine. Nothing bad's going to happen. It's the same thing with her shoulder. They're just saying that her shoulder's popping in and out. To be expected when you have the landing that she had at War Games. But no, I mean, Cora Jade is getting a nice push. It's a nice feud for Mandy to have. It's somebody that Mandy can easily, at the end of this, beat with the numbers game and take down Cora Jade and move on to a bigger, badder opponent going into Mania weekend. In my mind, this is leading to her versus KLR going into Mania. I think that's who takes the title off Mandy. But I think that right now, Cora Jade is great because it gives Cora Jade all the publicity that she needs. And then she can go into smaller feuds. And you can still spin this off into, like they did, Raquel versus Dakota, which I still wish was on New Year's Evil. Like, if you're going to do New Year's Evil in a couple weeks on January 4th, this street fight that you've been building since, that she turned on her should kind of be on a bigger show, just not on next week's show.
You've only got room typically for 5 matches on a pay-per-view card, though, and typically those slots are 4 title matches and maybe one-off non-title feud.
But just remember, this isn't going to be a pay-per-view match. It's going to be like Halloween Havoc. It's going to be a 2-hour special edition of NXT on January 4th. The same night as Wrestle Kingdom. So, got to put your big stuff out when you're, got Wrestle Kingdom in 5-6 hours afterwards.
Even still, Halloween Havoc was 4 title matches, was it not?
I think so. I'm just saying, like, you could afford to put this, a 10-minute street fight on a big stage like New Year's Evil, where you're going to get, maybe 60, 70,000 more eyes on New Year's Evil than you're going to get on next week's random Build 2 show.
I mean, next week's Random Build 2 show, though, is stacking up to be a pretty solid pre-New Year's Evil card. So
I can't wait.
Yeah, it's going to be fun. Unfortunately, I won't be here to chat about it. I'll try my best to be in comments at least and watching you and Astrid and whoever you might find to be here for my spot again.
You know, we're taking applications, you know, because we, you know, like you and I have found out tonight, I am very easily distracted. I am the dog from Up. I am Squirrel. And I get distracted and I start going off on my, oh, wow, hold on.
I mean, we're currently only about 3 minutes over what my goal end time was. So, I mean, if we close it out and do our plugs now, we're on time.
There we go.
Or we could look to Dara and Sean and say, what do you want us to talk about, and sit here for another hour?
And you got to remember, we also had Zach in his 11 promo, you know, thing went a little bit more than they expected, you know, and more power to them. When you have 11 promos, you can't just not talk about them, especially when you have the wordsmith on talking about promos. And by the way, I love your idea of having the wordsmith do that entire show as a poetry or promo. I think it'd be great.
Yeah. Might be something NWA I'll actually get a chance to tune into. Do you want to jump on the plugs first, or you want me?
Sure, I'll go ahead and jump on them.
Okay.
So I'll give myself the big screen. You can go ahead and hold on.
Yeah.
Let me see if I can brand. Hold on. Show display names. And I can do all this, I promise. There we go. You can find me over here. At EdFries12584 on Twitter. You can find me moderating Tom Collihue's Twitch channel at twitch.tv/Tom Collihu. On Mondays and Fridays, we have spoiler warning and we have watch parties for Raw and SmackDown. You can also find me here on NXT every week following NXT and Powerrrout. Just to remind you, a note for next week's show, we will be on at 10 o'clock. As NXT goes off the air, we will be on a couple minutes beforehand as the main event is finishing up, because there is no Powerrrout next week because it is a Power Surge. In the event Zach decides to cover Power Surge, which he probably won't, we will be on after Powerrrout, but I don't think it's going to be as late as 10:30, so make sure you tune in a little bit earlier for that. And now, Mr. Cody, because we haven't heard from you in a couple of weeks for plugging. That face on the big screen.
With less beard, a little bit less hair, and a brighter smile. Right here at Cody Defoe. That's your best place to find me right now. Christmas, holidays, work. It's insanity in my life right now. I miss being on this show. I will be back more consistently in the new year to talk all things NXT on a regular basis once again. But for now, keep up with my Twitter account. I will tweet when I'm watching stuff, where I'm watching stuff. I've been really heavily into Impact lately, and always happy to talk Impact Wrestling with anybody who's keeping up with the Impact programming. Keep your eyes on Love Wrestling socials, because I will be doing my best to put together a fantastic team of people to come and react to the TNA Impact Hard to Kill pay-per-view in January. That may very well be the next time anybody sees me on this screen on this channel. So keep up with that. I will be back with NXT, and I will be in the chats joining this wonderful NXT team of Ed and Astrid wherever I can. That's it. The at Cody Defoe Twitter. You can follow my Twitch, but I'm not too active on there right this moment either. But appreciate any follows you throw my way to keep up with when I do go active on there.
And just to throw this out there, because I know how much you like your New Japan, I would love to be part of any show where we're talking about Wrestle Kingdom this year.
I would love to be part of any show talking about Wrestle Kingdom this year, but I feel like Wrestle Kingdom falls on a weekend where I am unavailable to be there, and it makes me cry.
Just remember, it's a Tuesday and a Wednesday, followed by like a random Saturday. 3-day Wrestle Kingdom, and the third day is 4 days later. I think it's the 9th, the 4th, the 5th, and the 9th. It's
4th, 5th, and 8th, I think.
Just because before we go, we did thank our sponsors, our new sponsors at manscaped.com. We can never forget about Rich King and all the fantastic work that Rich King does at RK Athletics. So go ahead and follow them at RK Athletics 1 on Twitter and Instagram. If you're in the Edmonton, Alberta area, you can get in-person training. If you're outside the Edmonton, Alberta area, go ahead and get a hold of him. He may still be doing virtual personal training with all the COVID stuff going on. Remember that you can follow us at twitch.tv/lovewrestlingca, where you can go ahead and give us a follow and a subscribe to help sort of support us financially. You can go ahead and go to youtube.com/lovewrestling, where you can be one of more than 1,000 people who follow us on YouTube, and go ahead and get those watch hours up so we can get monetized on there, so we can make a little bit more money. We got lovewrestling.ca/shop, where you can go ahead and get your Love Wrestling merchandise, stickers, Sunday brunch mugs. We have a brand new shirt style coming in, Live, Laugh, Love Wrestling, that is being pre-ordered right now. Go ahead and get yours so that when it comes into the new year, you'll be all set to go ahead and get that. You can also follow us at ratethispodcast.com/lovewrestlingca to help us become the #1 podcast in Canada, because that's important to all of our Canadian friends, and we should support our Canadian friends who help us run this wonderful platform.
That's all I'm going to say, Sean.
You know what? Talk to me when the Packers have, 6, 7? I've honestly lost count of how many world championships we have in the past 20 some odd years. Get back to us when you win a couple more, and we can talk about what teams are great in the NFL.
Which team
Mac
beat
Jones
your
is killing
team,
it.
though? Which team beat your team, though?
The Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
Also, the Eagles.
Did they? That was the preseason. That didn't count.
No, they beat your team in a Super Bowl.
Oh,
with a backup quarterback. Just throwing that out there.
Yeah. They also lost the Super Bowl to us, too, because their quarterback was too busy puking in the 2-minute warning than playing football. All right, focus. Okay. We have to go home.
I am home, but we have to take it home.
Yeah, when we get the right banner out.
Okay.
And with that, thank you for joining us on Love Wrestling. Have a great night.
It has been a gong show.
Oh, how is it? Bye.